What's up, freak bitches, now that it's allowed me to unmute myself? What's going on? Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thank you for giving us just a few minutes of your time. And boy, it's been a busy day of watching a lot of stuff for me. Woke up today, watched the finale of Falcon Winter Soldier, which you will hear us talk about on Monday. But then followed that up immediately with both the original film of Mortal Kombat from 1995 and the new one was just dropped today on HBO Max. And here to talk about that with me, as always, is the Dowager Countess herself, Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
Great. If you hear me talking and you hear a little whimpering in the background, it's a puppy. It's not my subconscious hating the movie.
She's actually abusing a child. Don't listen to her.
Hating the movie. Wow, she's quick to say she didn't like it.
It was good.
And joining me, as always, is my hetero life mate, Jeremy Woolner. What did you get in the mail today, Jeremy?
You're going to make me turn the fuck around again to get this thing?
You can show us later. But it directly is involved with why I refer to you as my hetero life mate.
I know.
Now I have to go online.
The man himself.
Yeah, now I have to go online and order mine.
Nice.
Kevin Smith, right? Which one is that?
It's just him. It's just like a normal Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
I
got that one. Okay, yeah. That's why it looks so familiar.
Well, I found one that was like, there's a couple Silent Bob ones. They're like
actually
$100, so I was like, nope.
I actually got the Secret Stash one in Jersey, and I got his autograph a couple years ago. It's pretty cool.
And that voice you hear, is one of the two video game experts we have on to talk about these movies tonight. It's coming from the Teflon throat of the Rose.
Teflon throat is right, man, because by the time I got to sit down and eat my dinner, boy, I had to wolf that shit down before I got onto the show tonight.
And here to join us once again, he's joined us in the past, we're glad to have him back, is the collector, the man, Casey is Raw.
Hey.
Who let Alex on the call?
Hey, thank God I finally got back on the show with all the begging to get on here again.
He did beg quite a bit. It was actually kind of sad.
Yeah.
I had to beg, Frank. I had to beg, so it worked.
But listen, we're going to start off with a bit of a retro movie review. We haven't been able to do those in a long time, but it seemed fitting to go ahead and do one today. We're going all the way back to the year 1995 and the movie Mortal Kombat. And remember, this was kind of in the early days of the concept of turning video games into movies. I mean, they had tried it before, like Mario Brothers. It was like meh, didn't do so well. But we talked about this a while back. We talked about video game movies and why they tend to suck. It's a hard medium to cross from one to the other, and this one for a while was the best one that had been done. We'll go to Miss Cora first. Oh, Cora didn't actually get a chance to watch the first one, did she?
I did. I watched it after I watched the new one, and let me tell you.
That's right, you did. Okay.
The special effects are very on point for the time it was made. I was surprised at how good the acting was, and the casting wasn't bad. I laughed so hard when the Thunder guy tipped his head up, and he was white with blonde hair, and I'm like, oh, look, it's Gandalf.
Christopher Lambert was so funny in that fucking movie. I loved it.
He was
hilarious. It was a little all over the place. The pacing and the random scene, the way they cut through the scenes, or two new scenes, reminded me of like a Spanish soap opera. You never know what scene they're going to go to next. 1 minute you're in a house, the next minute you're in a hospital, the next minute you're outside and someone's slapping somebody. But it was good. The music was okay. I'm guessing there was something to it based on the video game music, but left me wanting more. The musical score for the new movie was fantastic. This one, not so much.
Actually, the soundtrack for this first movie sold very well. It was hugely popular.
I was going to say, don't you dare slander that goddamn slapper of a fucking theme.
Exactly. It actually go platinum, I believe, right? That album?
It was I think it may have been number one on the charts for like 3 weeks.
Is it just because of the... I don't know. I didn't like the music all that much, but It also did remind me of the music of the time, so maybe it was just,
was-
time capsule of the 90s. But
It's very 90s.
It
Yeah.
was very techno.
You listen to like you listen to that or like the Power
put it
Rangers
this
thing,
way.
like you know where you're at.
Put it this way, that song, that Mortal Kombat theme song, which was actually made specifically for that movie, that theme song has resonated with people so well that in the credits of the current movie we're going to review in a little bit, you heard remnants and a remixed version of that same theme song in the credits of the new movie.
I was gonna say there were little. I'm gonna say you're sitting here like, oh, the music was okay, and here the irony is there were still little musical stings of that original score in the new one, which I thought was cool as hell.
Well, I like the musical score in the new one. I'm not gonna lie, but the first movie, it didn't have a lot of corny, but there were some hella funny scenes. And the Johnny Cage character, which they make reference to at the end of the new one, I love that I got to see who the fuck he was in this one. Love that they had some badass fighting scenes, and I am not grossed out by how graphic it was. I was like, dude, if this was real, this is what it would look like. So,
True.
I was impressed. And the martial arts was really good. It didn't look like shitty WWE Kura wrestling. I mean, they actually were doing pretty good choreography. So, and plus I love the story. I like the ship they took to the island.
Johnny Cage falls
kinda...
out of it right into the fucking water with all the suitcases.
One of the things that's always bothered, I forgot how much it bothered me until I was watching the first movie again, was that he seems like such a bumblefuck of a person. It's like, how could he be one of the best martial artists in the world? It's like he doesn't fit the type at all. Like, at all.
What, for Johnny Cage?
Like, for anybody who actually knows how to throw a punch, or anybody who knows shit about martial arts, or anybody who knows more than what they learned watching movies, it's like, this guy, he didn't fit the part to me at all.
I mean, would you look at me
a guy who lived out of a hotel because he had a ton of money and did like a little bit of like body double acting in Hollywood. He didn't seem like an actual martial arts guy in the personality, but then he develops it in the end. Like that one scene when I know I'm chopping up names, I don't know the names. The Thunder guy
right.
hears him, is scolding him for challenging the bad guy, and then as soon as he walks away, he goes, "Yeah, I'm so proud of him. Someone finally stepped up." So it's like there's a really good character arc with this character specifically in this movie compared to the others who knew who they were, who acted on what they were passionate and motivated about. He really grew in this movie.
I was going to say, would you look at me and know that I actually have a black belt? No.
You're not nearly as clumsy as he is in the movie, though.
True.
It's like,
I'm not that big of an egotistical dick.
How many times have I see you do the barefoot beer run in the middle of winter? I mean, you really think you'd be able to pull even that off? You couldn't step out of a damn boat without falling face first into the water.
He couldn't even climb the stairs with those suitcases. He fell down them at least once or twice.
Yeah, he was the dumbest bastard in the world. A few details,
Did
though, about...
anybody wonder what he was trying to pack in all those suitcases? Like, you're going to, like an island...
To potentially die.
Yeah, pack some Hawaiian shirts and some Band-Aids.
Well, it's a trope because they're trying to paint him off as the stuck up,
Hollywood,
stuck up Hollywood guy.
Doesn't think it's real.
But a little bit about the original Mortal Kombat. It was a 1995 American fantasy martial arts action film. That's a whole mouthful. Directed by Paul W.S. Gone on to actually have quite a career of his own, if we're being perfectly honest. And produced by Lawrence Kasanoff, starring Robin Shou, S-H-O-U. I know I'm not pronouncing it right. I apologize. Lyndon Ashby, Kerry Hiroki Tagawa, Bridget Wilson, Sampras,
I fucking love him.
Talissa Soto, and Christopher Lambert, who everybody loves Christopher Lambert. He was for a while up there with Sean Connery, like in the 90s. And it's a loose adaptation of the early entries in the fighting game series Mortal Kombat. Yes, like Highlander. And it's the first installment of the Mortal Kombat film series. The plot of the film follows the warrior monk Liu Kang, the actor Johnny Cage, and the soldier Sonya Blade, all three guided by the god Raiden, which is actually spelled R-A-Y-D-E-N in the movie. I don't know why they changed the spelling, not that it mattered at all.
It was
you never
actually
see his
spelled
name
that way
spelled
in the
out.
game, too, for a little while.
On their journey to combat the evil sorcerer Shang Tsung and his forces in a tournament to save the Earth, the film's primary source material was the original 1992 game of the same title, but it was also inspired by and incorporated elements of 1993's follow-up Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat opened on August 18th of 95, was number one at the box office for the weekend, taking in $23.2 million, which was not a bad box office haul in 1995, and enjoyed a 3-week stint at number one, grossing $73 million domestically in the U.S. while adding another $51.7 million overseas, for a worldwide total of $124.7 million. The film became the highest-grossing adaptation of a video game before being surpassed by Pokemon, the first movie in 1998, which was much more of a kid movie anyway. According to Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 43%, with 42 critics giving the film a positive review and an average rating of 4.7 out of 10. The site's consensus reading says, despite an effective, otherworldly atmosphere and appropriately cheesy visuals, Mortal Kombat suffers from its poorly constructed plot, little dialogue, and subpar acting, which I can't disagree with any of that in the first movie. I can't disagree with absolutely none of that.
I didn't know if the movie or the video game came first until you just said that. So that
yeah, the game was out for a while.
Oh yeah, the game was out for a while.
Okay.
It's as old as me. I
liked the fighting scenes, to be honest. I thought the fighting was good. You know, I liked my favorite fight in the movie was Liu Kang versus Reptile. Not only for the fight itself, but they made Reptile look like the badass fighter that he was, because he was a secret character of the first game. So they made him the secret fighter of the movie. And not only that, but that kick-ass music behind that fight scene was just freaking amazing. I still listen to that music, on and off today.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good that
Did anybody else, or maybe this is a video game thing, now that I'm asking, I love that all the fights didn't happen in the same place. Some were indoors, some were outdoors. And even they were in different places. They rarely had a big fight scene in the same place. So it was really engaging because it drew you in. You didn't know when they're walking into a room or where they're going unless they zoomed in and everybody was ready to watch a fight. I like that they diversified the scenery of where they fought.
Well, that was probably a bit of a throwback to the original game too, because you had different levels and different environments that you could fight in.
Oh, that continued throughout the series, though.
Yeah, that's actually one of the staples of the video game series, to be honest, is these different arenas you can fight in. And as the game progressed on, they got considerably cooler and much more deadly and had much cooler ways of finishing people off.
Oh, I like
back fatal, I guess you could say.
I like back in the third game where you'd be underground, and then you do an uppercut, and you guys go through the roof and to the next. Yeah, that's why I like
somebody through the next part of the stage.
I may have to watch a walkthrough of these video games on YouTube.
Actually, there's a video.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel where you can go watch all the fatalities from all the games through the years. I stumbled across it, a couple of months ago and watched a little bit of it. It's like an hour-long video of all the fatalities. I watched a few minutes of it just to kill some time. It was actually pretty fun to go get taken back down memory lane to the older games. I was never good at fighting games anyway.
What was the one that had the fucking the zombie Liu Kang? Because I played the shit out of that one.
That was Deception. That's actually the one I'm playing right now on my YouTube channel.
Okay, because there was one I played that fucking cool little intro where they're fighting up that fucking pyramid or whatever. Then you just I don't remember who stopped and turned around and looked at him. And it was just you see the chains and it's just fucking Liu Kang dragging the fucking things and he just cracks his head.
Oh yeah, that one was Armageddon. Yeah, so he was in that one and in Deception. Yeah, he was in both of them.
Yeah, okay. It was Armageddon. I played the shit out as a kid. I just thought Liu Kang was the coolest fucking thing I'd ever seen. Because of course his neck was snapped. I'm like, oh yeah, because that would be the thing. He snaps it back. Damn.
I also I could not ignore just how bad the CGI was for that fucking lizard thing.
That's Reptile, man.
It was just
They put all their money into Goro instead of that damn thing. Hey,
yeah, but even Goro wasn't that good. I mean, it probably was as good as they could get on a budget.
Goro was half puppet and
Human.
half.
I
And
was gonna
half
say,
costume.
it looked like a human body with an animatronic topper.
There was
That
a
looked
person.
really good.
There was a person who actually controlled the bottom half of the suit and the two of the forearms, and the upper half of the body, from the mid range of your chest and up, was all puppeteering. And actually, I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for the guy that had to play Goro, because that was a 125-pound suit that guy had to fight in. Not only that, but the suit.
C-3PO in Star Wars.
Not only that, but the suit broke down, and the guy was stuck in the suit for 8 hours while it was being repaired.
Fuck.
Oh,
God
no.
damn.
I mean, that's the
They gave
reason.
him a catheter in the bag so he could take a piss down his leg.
Well, you can kind of tell now you said that. If you look at the Goro character, you kind of almost see
There's a second.
Where the guy might be.
And it
That's
had
what they
reminded me of like Jim Henson animatronic stuff from the 80s and early 90s. The way the mouth and the eyes moved too.
Yeah, it was a little weird looking. Like a lot of the times when Goro spoke, his mouth movements sometimes didn't match what he was actually saying.
Well, that's actually kind of par for the course for a lot of. That's kind of par for the course for a lot of martial arts movies, though.
That's the joke, sure.
I was looking for
That's what they had.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
They had Arnold Schwarzenegger. They had him play the fucking Mr. Freeze because he was the only fucking person that could handle that fucking Mr. Freeze suit because it weighed like fucking 100 pounds or some shit.
I guess they originally had offered that role to Patrick Stewart, but they were worried that he couldn't wear that fucking 150-pound suit. And that's one of the reasons they picked Arnold, because he was the only one strong enough to walk around in that damn suit.
Oh,
Right.
Lord.
So,
Were any of the original actors in the first movie, did they do cameos in the new movie? I didn't see
No.
first to notice.
The hell, half those people
Oh,
are
that's
dead.
bad.
Or not dead.
Are they really?
No, they're
A
not
few
dead.
of them are, yeah.
I'm just saying it was a long time. Well, some of the older guys, some of the older martial artists might be, but I mean, Bridget Wilson, she's still doing stuff. I mean, she's not as active as she once was. I mean, she was a beauty pageant person anyway. She was like Miss Teen USA in like 1990, I think. So she's like beauty pageants. Well, she's married to Pete Sampras, the old tennis pro. So they're not doing too bad. I mean, and he's still doing stuff too. So, but yeah, the rest of the guys, I mean, I doubt it. I know the guy that played Liu Kang.
Robin Shield.
Yeah, he's still alive, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he is. He's a dad now.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get a Princess Leia vibe when she was chained up in that weird leather, like, gladiator dress outfit?
No.
Oh, okay.
I never get a Princess Leia vibe.
That's actually a callback to the arena stage in Mortal Kombat too, because she's chained up in that too as well.
Yeah, I never get a
chained up.
Nobody's ever good enough to give me a Princess Leia vibe. Nobody hits that level with me anymore.
What about Betty White?
All right.
I've never seen Betty White chained up in a metal bikini. Show me a picture of Betty White chained up in a metal bikini, and we'll talk. But I was going through some of the trivia, and there is some pretty interesting stuff that could be some conversation starters here. You guys know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is. He actually turned down the role. He actually turned down the role of Johnny Cage to do Street Fighter, and the character in the game was originally based kind of on him.
Johnny Cage was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
Would not have looked like a pussy if it had been him.
I don't know. I've never been overly fond of Van Damme anyway.
I liked him in those Expendable movies, though.
The one that he was in?
Yeah.
He was only in the one. He wasn't bad.
Oh. I don't know.
During the filming of the movie, Bridget Wilson had broken her wrist and dislocated her shoulder during the filming of the movie, so she had to have her shit popped back in.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And Liu Kang actually broke a couple of his ribs in that fight against Reptile. And then he had to go on and take all those body shots from Reptile in that fight And then he had to fight Shang Tsung after that, back to back.
Damn.
I would hate to have been him, that's for sure.
On the subject of the soundtrack actually went platinum in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I thought so. I knew it went platinum.
Yeah, so that was a pretty popular movie sound. That was back when they would still do like legit movie soundtracks. So nowadays if they do them at all, they half-ass them. They're just like, we're just gonna go buy the rights to some popular song and we're gonna throw it on there.
That's pretty much what they do nowadays. Yeah.
No. Back then they were actually thought through. You know what I mean?
They actually did that for Annihilation because there was a Rammstein song in that one from the '97 one. So they did that with the second one actually.
Let's see, what else did I see? Oh, and early on in the film, after Johnny Cage gets done filming that scene, which we find him in when he's introduced in the film, Steven Spielberg, who was an avid fan of the Mortal Kombat series, was actually set to make a cameo appearance as that director in that scene.
I wondered if that's why the guy looked like Steven Spielberg.
Yep. But scheduling conflicts forced him to back out. Nonetheless, that director character in the scene does resemble Spielberg, which is most likely a reference to the fact that he was supposed to be in the movie.
I like that one line they gave him, like when he was filming that movie scene inside of a movie, and he's fighting those jobbers, and the one guy forgets to fall down in the spot, and Johnny goes, "This is where you fall down," and then the guy jumps backwards and falls on his ass.
What else is in here? Let's see. I didn't know that until I read this. Christopher Lambert is actually himself. He's a gamer.
That's awesome.
I didn't know the guy was a gamer. I thought maybe he was just a little too old, like, because it's like my age group. I grew up playing like the first Nintendo, so it's like when I think of like the electronic gamers, the guys that actually play the consoles. I think that like older than me is probably where there's kind of this line. But then again, there was this generation of people that played the Atari, and I remember the Atari from when I was really young. So maybe there was a lot of 20-somethings that played the old Atari 2600 that actually became big gaming enthusiasts. Like, maybe they were just into it back then. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you a fun fact. I'll give you a fun fact there, Frank. In Mortal Kombat 11, they released what they called the movie pack for like the anniversary of the movie, and they had Christopher Lambert, Bridget Wilson, and Lyndon Ashby reprise their characters for that skin pack.
I did read that.
You got to play as their likenesses in their costumes from the movie with their voiceover lines.
Yeah, she did the voiceover. Actually, she came back to the voiceover for that stuff. I remember reading that.
Yeah, so did Lambert and Ashby, and Shang Tsung, Hiroyuki Tagawa. He came back and he was the narrator for the crypt in the game, and he also portrayed Shang Tsung for the DLC fighter when they were making his character. So that was pretty cool.
I said the average age of a gamer is actually older than me. Even it's not even really me. Trust me, it's people older than me.
Well, I mean, they're using like Wii's and stuff like that to help people like the old folks home and stuff to stay active. I've seen there's actually a YouTube channel. I've never actually watched it. I've seen like other people talk about it on YouTube. There's like some 70 or 80-year-old guy that runs around and plays COD.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, this guy fucking burns. So
this guy doing Twitch, man. He's fucking in his 70s. He plays the OG fucking RuneScape.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, go on if you want to play. But also, Sean Connery, believe it or not, was the first choice for the role of Raiden. Connery, however, turned down the role.
Wow.
Yes, as he wanted to play golf and wasn't interested in a physical role. Christopher Lambert, his fellow cast member from Highlander and Highlander 2: The Quickening, got the part instead, which I find very funny.
Christopher Lambert also turned down the role of Raiden in the second movie because he didn't like the script.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Actually, it also says that Danny Glover was actually considered for the role of Raiden. That could have been cool.
All right.
I like Danny Glover.
Yeah, and they spelled Raiden with a Y back then because that's actually how they spelled it in the games before they changed the spelling of it later on.
Oh, Frank Welker from Transformers fame was uncredited as the voice of the creature reptile and of the Emperor Shao Kahn at the very end of the movie. The voice Welker gave Shao Kahn is almost identical to Welker's Dr. Claw voice in Inspector Gadget, the 1980s cartoon that I grew up watching.
I
Fantastic.
heard that, yes.
Okay, that makes me feel better, because as soon as I heard that voice at the end, it's like, oh my god, I'm watching Inspector Gadget. What the fuck?
Inspector
I thought
Gadget.
I was having a mind blow up, like weird moment. Thank God you said that.
See, you know what's funny? Back in the day with the Inspector Gadget cartoon, I really thought I guess the chief who always gives the information to Inspector Gadget, I swear that was Dr. Evil. Or Mr. Claw, wherever his name was.
Could be the same actor tweaking his voice.
Yeah.
I thought that was him.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Let's see. There was some other stuff. Actually, there is a little bit of a connection to Resident Evil to this movie. Quickly after the movie's box office success, director Paul W.S. Anderson was asked by New Line Cinema to helm the sequel, but he has set his mind on doing something completely different and instead moved on to the film Event Horizon, which came out in 1997. Another great movie, by the way. You guys should definitely check it out if you're into like space, sci-fi, horror stuff. Very good movie. He later expressed some regret over not being involved in the making of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which he did not like. And it was one of the reasons why...
Better movie overall.
And he was one of the reasons that he remained involved in the making of the sequels to the Resident Evil movies as a way to stay with the franchise and kind of shepherd it down a better path.
Okay, so he learned a lesson from the Mortal Kombat and passed on the benefits to Resident Evil. Well, that's good.
It makes me wonder what could have been had he stayed around.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that they're gonna maybe make some? I don't know. I just think they should maybe do a follow-up with some of the actors. I know we mentioned it before, but I wish they would put some of the original actors in this movie, or maybe a sequel if they make for the new one. I think it'd just be so fun. I don't know. I just would really like that.
Robin already said his acting days are done, and he's a father now. And he said his son, I believe he's got a son. He said that his son will be a normal kid and not get into acting unless he wants to, like, you know, later in life. He wants his kid to actually be a kid, unlike he was.
Well,
and Robin Shu and Hiroyuki Tagawa, I believe I'm pronouncing his name right. Him and Tagawa are actually really close friends in real life. When they actually they both portrayed, you know, the ultimate good guy and the ultimate villain in that movie. Ironically.
TSS.
Did they ever do a cartoon version or cartoon series after the movie?
There was a cartoon series
version, yeah.
which was a prequel. There was a prequel movie called The Journey Begins. I would not recommend watching that. It would make your eyes bleed.
Okay.
There was also a 13-episode series which aired on the USA Network called The Defenders of the Realm. That one was better in terms of animation, but it still sucked.
That's too bad. Do you think this new movie will usher in a new video game to be made?
No, they're never going to stop making these video games.
Oh no!
The video games.
Another game. They won't make another game just because of the movie. They're going to make another game because they sell well.
Well, yeah,
exactly.
I think the video game franchise has been tremendously successful. I mean, regardless of the movie.
I think if Ed Boon retires Mortal Kombat, somebody will probably try to kill him. That's how beloved the series is.
You're just going to hear in the overworld, finish him. Fuck, what? Somebody fly off the top rope.
How many Mortal Kombat games are there?
Technically 11. 11 main series games and 3 spin-offs.
Yeah.
So there's 14 in total.
Well, fucking look out, fucking Final Fantasy. We're coming for you.
Yeah. If not in movies, in video games at least. Also, one of the things I read was that Ernie Reyes Jr. was at one point considered for the role of Liu Kang. Do you guys remember him?
No.
He was actually like a stuntman and a choreographer for a long time, but he did a couple of roles in a few movies. He was the little pizza delivery guy in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. He was the one that got mixed up with them in that movie. That's Ernie Reyes Jr.
I haven't seen that movie in so long too. I should probably go back and watch
The
those.
pizza boy guy?
Yeah, he was the pizza guy that ends up getting mixed up with the Turtles in the second Ninja Turtles movie from 1990. What is it? 8? 99? Something like, I don't know. Maybe it was earlier than that, but yeah, that was him. He was actually considered to play Liu Kang.
I think it was 90, quite frankly. Or
it may have been. You know what? That actually sounds right. It might have been. I actually forgot how old those movies were for a minute.
I think 88 or 89 is when the first one came out. And then like a year or two later, they had the second one. And we don't talk about the third one.
Yeah, the third one was terrible. Everything after that was terrible.
It's just like a Fight Club thing. You don't talk about it. Like you pretend like it doesn't exist.
No, pretty much.
No, they're just terrible.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we just don't talk about it.
So this is probably on your trivia list there, Frank, but I'm going to cut to it anyways. Trevor Goddard, fans loved his portrayal of Kano so much that he was the reason why going forward in other media and in the video games, Kano was portrayed as an Australian instead of what he was originally portrayed as in the games. He has been Australian ever since because of Trevor Goddard.
You're talking about the guy in the new movie, right?
No, Trevor Goddard in the original movie. He was portrayed as an Australian. That guy portrayed him as an Australian, and the fans loved it so much that they kept going with that moving forward in the games and in every other media that he was in.
Because I thought that I had read somewhere that this new movie that came out is the first time that maybe it just said it was the actor. That the actor who played that character wasn't British. They actually went and got an Australian this time instead of a Brit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I was reading. I was just thinking it from another angle.
But, yeah, rest in peace, Trevor Goddard. He's one of the actors from that movie that is no longer with us.
That's unfortunate.
Did you guys agree the makeup, the way they did his eye, was really good for back then? I mean, it looked legit real implant on his face.
It looked like it does like in the fucking game. It's just that big fucking plate on the side of his face. Yeah.
I think these days, I don't think it aged well. I mean, I remember watching it earlier today and thinking to myself when I was a teenager at some point, I had gone and gotten like a Terminator mask for Halloween one year, and it was basically like half of a mask. You had to cut it out to like mold to wherever you wanted it to cover on your face, and then it gave you this plastic stuff to press around it and paint it red so it looked like the skin had been pulled away from your Terminator skull. And I looked at it and I was like, that looks like some shit that I wore back in like 1997 to like the fucking Terminator, and there it is on the screen right now.
Well, it was 1995, so what do you want?
I was like, yeah.
But for the time, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as you can get for a low-budget film, you know what I mean? Because they didn't pour a great amount of money into these movies.
What was the budget for this movie? I mean,
$20 million.
How much did it cost to make it? Oh,
$20 million.
Shit. Where did they put the money in the? I don't know.
I can tell you right now.
This place.
They had over $1 million was put into the Goro suit and the guy that played him.
Wow.
They probably put it in that fucking. You could have put a little more money in that terrible CGI for that fucking lizard.
They should have done that.
I didn't like his reptile form, but I did like how Liu Kang just found him, just hanging, chilling out on the side of that wall, even though he was invisible.
Yeah.
Liu Kang just sensed he was there, and he's just like, "Come here, motherfucker!" And then he threw him into that statue, and then he becomes a human. That's not how anatomy works, guys.
They should just cut that section out. They should cut that section out and just have him just being his human self, not being an actual.
Well, actually, that fight wasn't even going to exist in the movie, the Liu Kang and Reptile fight. But after they were done with the movie production and filming, I guess they were watching it back to, check for errors and everything else, see if there's anything that needed to be reshot or whatever. And they came to a conclusion that the movie wasn't long enough and that they wanted it to be a little longer, so they added that extra fight scene.
Yeah, they're really working that Windows 95 computer they had to make that fucking lizard. You guys are fucking unappreciating it.
It turns out, in my opinion, that was
Gecko's grandfather.
In my opinion, that was the best fight in the whole movie, and it wasn't even supposed to be in it.
Well, what did you think of the visuals of the way they colored? I mean, he looked like something straight out of a cartoon, and it didn't even look like a bad guy almost. He just kind of looked like
he's the whole joke is that, like, because in the game, the way Scorpion and Sub-Zero look, it's just literally the same fucking character. Just one's yellow, one's blue, and then they found out like the reason why they have Reptile and Ermac is because they're like, oh, they glitched the fucking shit. It's the same character model, just now one's green and then one's red, and they're like, oh, fuck it, let's just make them characters. And I think that's also how they got a couple like Noob and Smoke. That's why they're also like the silver and the black suit too. There's a whole lot.
Rain was the purple ninja.
It's the rainbow of these
Tremor was the brown ninja, even though he was only referenced until
Power
Mortal
Rangers,
Kombat.
basically.
Yeah, it's just the same character model. The joke was like they were different colored, and like Reptile and Ermac weren't real characters. They just glitched, and they just fucking went with it, and it became.
Yeah, they did that because obviously there wasn't too much space on the cartridges, and they wanted to have more fighters in their first game, so they just took Scorpion and they turned him blue, gave him an ice ball, instead of the spear, and called it a new character.
Right.
Now, is it a video game
reusing
thing?
assets.
Why did they have the face cover? What's with the literally like a face mask?
Well, if you spent a couple centuries in hell, you'd do that too.
Yeah, well, they're supposed to be ninjas, and most ninjas do wear masks. So.
Oh, okay.
Also, I mean, you're not going to tell me that fucking pull away where he has a fucking skull that goes on fire wouldn't be as dramatic as just pull the mask.
That was pretty cool.
And that is like his signature thing.
About that scene was, how did Johnny know he was going to explode? Why did he run and jump?
Because it's a video game.
Okay.
I like how they made the movie. Like, they had to avoid showing death on screen to make it a PG-13 movie. Yet you see Scorpion exploding and his guts going everywhere. You see the one guy getting blown up with an ice ball and his head just landing on the ground in front of Sub-Zero. You see Shang Tsung falling to his death and getting impaled on spikes. I'm pretty sure this is categorized as death. How did this get by for PG-13?
Well, let's be frank and frankly with this, because in the new one it was way more graphic. And then,
well, of course, that was the idea.
But nowadays movies, period, are way more graphic.
Now, let me ask you guys this though. Let me see how many of you guys caught this, because when I reviewed this movie with Drew on his Patreon about a month and a half ago, he didn't catch this. When Scorpion exploded after Johnny Cage sliced him with that freaking shield thing, and he blew up, did you guys notice the Johnny Cage autograph that fell on the ground out of Scorpion's pocket?
Yes,
that's actually one of the trivia things. That was Johnny Cage's friendship finishing move from the game.
Yeah, it was a picture of him and said to my best friend Johnny Cage or some shit. It was signed by him. I'm like, holy shit, that's ironic.
You know what would have been awesome if they had more of those special fatalities? It'd be hilarious. I think, isn't it like Liu Kang, either in the first one or the second one, where they drop the arcade machine?
I think that wasn't until the third game.
Was that in the third
I remember
game?
that.
Yeah, I don't think that made it until the third game.
Well, here's a little piece of trivia about what Rose was talking about a little bit ago. The producers had to frequently consult the ratings board to find out how much cursing there could be and how much blood could be shown in the film in order to make it violent enough for the target audience, yet still carry a PG-13 rating as mandated by the studio. They found out that showing a human head on screen, or human screen, would automatically mean an R rating, but the death of a monster or creature would not. That explains why all the human deaths occur off screen, but the deaths of creatures like Goro could be shown in full. So...
Well, and the humans didn't really die. Shang Tsung just kind of like sucked their soul out, so it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, Scorpion portrayed a human-like character, and he went explodey.
But he is like a demon.
But he takes his mask off at one point, and he's looking like fucking what's his name? Goddamn Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Sonya Blade snapped Kano's neck on screen. He died on screen.
No, technically you didn't see him die. You heard her breaking his neck, and then he's just there lifeless. So that's how they got away around.
All right, well, explain
the
Shang Tsung one then when he fell into the spikes. I mean,
It's-
you
it
only
could be-
see his upper half, but still, he fell into those fucking spikes.
I think there's just loopholes. They're like, oh, well, you technically didn't see it.
Yeah, like I said, you can cut back to Sonya and you just hear a snap, and you cut back to him just like doing that. It's like, I really didn't really see it happen. I don't know.
And
Well,
look,
we know.
But there was no blood. It was just him laying on the ground with a broken neck. So.
Like a whole lot of blood.
When Goro was about to die, and he looks down at him, and he goes, "Well, this is the part where you let go." That cracked me.
Yeah, he brought that line back when Goro's just hanging off the ledge. He goes, "This is where you fall down."
Yeah, this is the part where you fall down.
There we go. That's
Although in that movie,
Johnny Cage,
Johnny Cage had the fucking best line of that whole movie when Goro crushed the glasses. That was fucking great. Before he killed him, he goes, "Those are $500 sunglasses, asshole."
What's with using the phrase "let's dance" whenever they start fighting every now and then?
It was the 90s. One-liners like always preceded some big fight or action scene.
I wonder how much that would have actually hurt to punch Goro in the fucking dick like he did in that movie.
Well, we also
Goro
had to
pretty
get
fucking
Johnny
good.
Hey, do you think
like going down to splits and uppercut somebody?
Do you think maybe Goro has a big dick? Probably.
I thought he was
Maybe he has 4 of them.
or something.
Well, if he had 4 of them, he'd be technically being a kid now.
I'm just saying, he's got 4 arms. You might as well utilize them.
One for each arm. That'd be oh god.
But you know,
hurt.
let's talk about that final scene real quick before we wrap up and start to move on to the new film. The film was originally supposed to end just after Raiden tells Liu Kang and the rest of the crew, "I've got to tell you something, you guys did great." But a new ending was reshot and incorporated into the final film, which is when the Emperor Shao Kahn suddenly appears in the sky and says, "You weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your souls," to which Raiden replies, "I don't think so." And then you have that scene where, it's in the slideshow right here, where they all take fighting positions, and then the movie ends. What did you guys think of just like the overall ending of the film?
I thought it was great. Like, I'm like, oh shit, man, we're getting the sequel. Can't fucking wait. And then they rushed it out the door like a year and a half later, and then we got what we got, and it's like, aw.
Yeah.
And there's that scene that's on the screen right now, you guys can see.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
I was a little
it's
confused
kind of like
because I didn't play the video game, so I didn't know any of this.
I want to ask you guys this.
I saw it, I'm like, motherfucking Shao Kahn, of course. Here we go.
In the Johnny Cage fight, when they were first in the woods with Johnny Cage and Scorpion, first of all, what did you guys think of how they portrayed Scorpion's spear move with that live freaking snake thing coming out of his arm?
I thought it was weird when it crashed into the tree and it bled. I thought it would be just a robotic thing, and I was like, how the hell why is this alive? And he retracted it without the head. That was weird. But the way it moved was pretty cool.
And if you looked like really closely at one part of the scene to like the bottom left corner, they didn't do a very good job of hiding like certain aspects. Because at one point in that scene, you see like a couple of cars driving by in the woods, and you see
really?
You can see a couple of people walking by like they weren't properly masked out properly.
Really?
It looked really strange. I saw that on a YouTube video. Somebody pointed it out. I'm like, holy shit! I never noticed that before.
Actually, here's a really good way to fucking put the old movie, new movie in perspective with Scorpion's old rope dart thing. This old movie is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and this one was the Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield one. Just let that sink in for a second.
So, I got a question. What would you guys rate the first from 1 through 10?
A 6.
I'd give it maybe 6.5 to 7.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, when me and Drew reviewed it, when I made him watch it for his birthday, I'm pretty sure I gave it a 6.5 as well.
My first thought was a 6.
I don't know. I'm on the 5 area.
Well, I taking the under on this rating.
I feel like I could give it a little more. I mean, if I take into account that, I mean, it was the best they were going to do in the mid '90s, and it was kind of virgin territory to try to make movies into video games back then. I mean, now we've got like 40 or 50 video game based films that have all either met whatever level of success, but back then it was still. I mean, this was only one of the first couple of steps into trying to turn a video game into a movie, and just looking at it, it's not terrible. But I still feel like it could have been done better. But again, this came out, and I've said it 100 times, like the last part of the 80s and all through the 90s and into about the early 2000s, there were so many... It was filmmaking was so one-dimensional. It was all special effects and one-liners and hot chicks and really, really strong guys with their shirt on, and there was nothing else. They didn't concentrate on dialogue or story or anything like that, so that's kind of... This just happened to come out in that era of filmmaking. One of the things I actually kind of like about the new one, and we'll get to this in a minute, is that the characters are a lot more fleshed out, and in this one they're really not. It's kind of the characters are kind of clumsily put together.
The only reason why I was going to say that is I'm like, I bet you this one's going to spend more time. Because when I saw it opening up on Hanzo, I was like, oh, we're going to do the thing, aren't we? We're going to do the fucking story. We're going to do the whole with him and
the origin story. Like,
yeah, because I'm like,
origin story.
See what the fuck. That's which that's one of the best parts about this. And I'm like, well, with this, I'm kind of like, well, again, it's like the whole fucking Batman thing. You know why the movie sucked? Because they already made the fucking toys, and they're like, get it out, get it out, get it out there, get it out there. We want to sell shit. It's like you already know what this is. You already know the characters. You probably played the game. You just want to see it. You just want to see your favorite character doing shit. So it's kind of like you already essentially know, and you just want to see him do backflips and shit.
Yeah.
What did you rate the movie, Jeremy? I don't think I heard your number.
Oh, I said I'd give it about a 6.
Oh, okay.
Seems like everybody's like in a general agreement, except for Frank. He's got to be the one to give it the lower score.
Well, I can't be easy on things.
Well, that's true. I have a question that might challenge all of you who play the video games and have known about this for years. Something that I can't answer. If you could change anything about the original movie that would make it more accurate or more authentic from the games, what would you change about the original movie?
Scorpion should have pulled his head out with the fucking spine still attached.
No, that was Sub-Zero.
Was it?
Yeah, that was Sub-Zero.
He had the skull.
I would have actually made... Okay, here's what I would have done. I would have made Sub-Zero less of a jobber. And I'm going to get into that when we review the new movie.
Oh,
because the Sub-Zero in these movies are completely night and day.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge difference. Sub-Zero is a much better character in the newer movie.
Yeah.
I would absolutely just lose that fucking lizardy fucking chameleon thing. Either turn him into like full-on reptile, or just don't have him in the movie at all.
Well,
it was ugly. It was silly. He didn't really serve a purpose. I mean, he falls into that statue and then he comes to life just to get his ass kicked by. I wasn't with it. I wasn't with that whole thing.
I like the fight though. You got to agree. The best fight out of those ninjas was Reptile. That was the best fight in that movie, and rightfully so, because in the games he was a secret character and he was the best fighter in that game too. Because the AI would ramp itself up to like the highest difficulty and whoop your ass in those games. I was
kind of waiting for Sonya to be broken as shit because she always is. I don't know what the fuck it is, man. I could butt mash the fuck out of a Sonya Blade fight and just fucking win. And not even know
that's another thing. I would have had Sonya have at least 2 fights in the movie instead of just 1. I mean, they made her look pathetic too. I mean, they put her up against a pretty high tier fighter in Kano.
She's better than
but that was it. She didn't do anything else after that. She was just a support character.
Well, she was worse than that. She was the damsel in distress at the end of the movie. It's like you can't turn somebody who you're trying to pretend is a powerful character or a good warrior into a damsel in distress in the third act of the movie. It just doesn't make any sense.
So now let me ask you one more thing, because Drew asked me this question when we did it. He goes, "This movie, they're talking about a tournament, and they called this a tournament, but it didn't really resemble a tournament.
Yeah, it was just random fights. It was random fights all around.
Because if it was a tournament, wouldn't you think, like, to determine who wins Mortal Kombat, eventually Liu Kang should have had to fight Johnny Cage, and Sonya should have had to fight somebody again other than just beating Kano, and that's it?
You know what? I think I know what I would have wanted, but I don't think the CG could do it. You need to have Liu Kang turn into the fucking dragon at least once.
Well, I mean, they kind of did that with this movie today, the one that came out today.
I want to see him do that.
That fire dragon looked fucking awesome, though, in that movie.
Hell yeah. Just waiting for that.
It did, absolutely. But anyway, any final thoughts on the 1995 OG Mortal Kombat?
Well, I'm glad it exists. It's one of my favorite movies, my favorite video game movie of all time. It's a movie I go back to, like I said, every year to rewatch it, just to relive how cheesy it is, and it's been a part of my life for as long as it has. And as much as it maybe hasn't exactly aged well, it's, in my opinion, still one of the best video game movies that was ever made.
Casey, how about you?
I was impressed with it myself. Oh, sorry.
Casey, how about you?
You're muted.
About to say, did somebody mute Casey? Did Alex get a hold of him?
I haven't had my fingers on the computer at all.
Oh damn! I didn't know I was muted.
I was to say,
Drew didn't say you had to mute yourself in the month of April.
Oh, I echo what the Rose just says. I really loved the original, so it's one of the best video game movies I ever seen. So, and
that soundtrack was fucking bumping.
Oh, definitely, that was a badass.
It's so good. I still listen to it today. Sometimes.
So I pretty much echo what the Rose just said.
Cora, what do you think?
I was surprised by how much I liked it, fresh coming off of watching the new one, and I mean, I didn't like the music as much. I know I'm the minority opinion of that, but maybe it's just because it's dated, and maybe if I watched it when it was new, I would feel differently. But overall, I thought it was pretty darn good for what it was at the time, and not knowing anything about the video games. Let's just say this. There were times when I could have gotten up to do a couple things, and I found myself sitting down and continuing to watch, not wanting to pause it, wanting to see what was next. So it did captivate me. So that was a nice surprise.
Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, I still enjoy it. It's not, it's dated, but I can still watch it. It's not like I look back on it like, oh, well, that was terrible. It's like, or it's just I kind of know it's that way. It's the fucking mid-90s, and what else did you have? Like the Mario movie, fucking Street Fighter, Resident Evil wasn't quite out yet, but for what they were trying to go for, and I mean the concepts, I mean, it still hit the nail on the head pretty well. And again, with the technology that was available.
Sonic Boom in the chat says Mortal Kombat original is always going to be a classic. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. I mean, ultimately, think about what it was supposed to be at its core. It's supposed to be one of those movies where you just turn your brain off, stuff your face full of popcorn and soda, and just enjoy. Enjoy these crazy creatures getting into fights and beating each other up, and the cool death scenes. Which, I mean, I have to give this movie this much. Mortal Kombat, the game, gave us some of the coolest death scenes that video games had seen up to that point, and they did as good a job as they could have done with the current MPAA standards of the time, of the mid-90s. They did what they could do to give us those cool fatalities and death scenes and references. They did as much as they could to give us that. So they did, in many ways, manage to satisfy the target audience, which was all the kids that were playing this game. But
I'll say this. Comparing the two movies, they stuck closer to the story of the games in the original than they did in this one.
True. But again, it comes down to that problem of how do you transfer the story from the game to the big screen and still have it kind of coalesce into something that makes sense. Because you said it yourself, it's like the game is a straight up tournament, but there was nothing like a tournament in this movie. It seemed like Shang-Chi was just not Shang-Chi, Jesus Christ. What's his name? Was just trying to. He was just trying to. Yeah. It seems like he was just like picking and choosing which guys that wanted to fight, kind of on a whim. It wasn't really a tournament that was set up for them to follow. I mean, it kind of starts like that initially on the beach when you're having these smaller matches, but eventually it's just kind of like an all, pretty much a battle royale of everybody just kind of fight wherever you come across one another, and we'll see who's still standing at the end.
It's almost like you tried to say. It's almost like you tried to say Shang Tsung and like Quan Chi there for a second. You're like, what?
So, like, if me and the Rose just happen to come across each other, are we supposed to just now fight?
Well, if you follow the logic of this movie, yeah, pretty much.
If you hear that,
not only that, but towards the end of the movie. Towards the end of the movie, they were, like Liu Kang and them, the heroes, they were allowed to pick their own opponents. Like Johnny Cage said, I want Goro because Goro killed Art Lee. And we didn't even mention that guy. And then in the end of the movie, Shang Tsung says, I exercise my right to challenge. I challenge her because there was an agreement with them to let Shang Tsung pick his opponent in exchange for Johnny Cage getting Goro. And Liu Kang was having none of it because in the storyline of that movie, he wanted the revenge for Shang Tsung killing his brother.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If this was a legit tournament, how do you even make a deal as to who can fight who? It's just like you get seeded, and then you fight, and then you just fight whoever wins the other fight, and then you just come on down the tournament until you're the last guy standing. It just seems so random. It wasn't anything even close to a tournament.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to do a fantasy bracket for this tournament?
That's what it's supposed to be. And that's how the game plays out. That's how the original game played out. It's like you had the tower, and as soon as you would fight these individual people, you would move up the tower until you got to, like, Goro.
I just made that up.
So yeah, the game was an actual tournament where you had to fight your way to the top. This was just kind of like, we're going to get a bunch of people together who had magical powers, let them fight it out in some mythical land. And I was like, that's cool if that's what the point is, but they keep saying tournament to defend the Earth realm, and then it's like all they did was get together and start throwing hands. It seemed like it was just kind of
magic.
Well, maybe there was a term. Maybe there was a tournament that we just didn't see. Maybe there was a tournament bracket behind the scenes. It's like, all right, Goro moves on to the semifinals.
Well, I mean, at least they could have showed that.
The semifinal as it was. He pretty much was in the semifinal because he didn't have to fight until, they threw all like 50 jobbers at him, and then Johnny Cage said, "No, I want to fight him because if I can't stop him, nobody will." Like, motherfucker, if you can't stop him, Liu Kang will because of plot armor. First of all.
It's like that point where I watched the review of the movie. He was talking about that line that Shang Tsung says. He's like, the rules are quite clear. He's like, what fucking rules? What the fuck are you talking about? None of this shit makes sense. Like, yeah, it's a good piece of dialogue, but you're not fucking following that through there, guy.
No doubt. But yeah, that's the retro movie review of 1995's gem of the entire 1995 release schedule, Mortal Kombat, based on the video game from a couple years earlier. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the more modern version that came out today, actually. And I got to say, look, the trailers for this were exciting as fuck. I mean, they looked good. Yes. They were dirty. They were gritty. They were definitely R-rated. They didn't give a fuck. And they made very, very clear in the first that they were going to embrace the bloody, gory, just craziness that is in the game. They were just going to embrace it, bring it out on the screen, and let fans have it all. And that was one of the things that I think made people want to see this movie very badly, is they were finally going to get the movie that they wish they could have gotten back in 1995, but because they were afraid to have an R rating, they were like, we don't want to chase away the 13-year-olds or the families of the kids, so we're going to go ahead and just we're going to kind of water this down a little bit. But no, they went for it, balls and all. I mean, what did you guys think of some of the marketing leading up to this? Did you get really, really super excited about this?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I couldn't wait for it to come out. I mean, this was the sole reason why I just signed up for HBO Max right now.
And while you're going to forget to cancel it before the end of your trial month is over.
I can give you a bunch of reasons to keep HBO Max. There's all kinds of TV shows and shit on there I love to watch.
Oh, I only checked out the movies. I need to check out the TV shows.
He's gonna try to find some of that softcore, prawn stuff on there.
Oh, dude, I remember back in the day watching HBO for the
I bet
the adult section. I had to make sure, like, if my parents was going to come through the room, then
boy,
No, Casey, that was Skinamax.
No, he's right. There was some stuff on HBO, but nevertheless, we're getting off topic with that. That's another topic.
That's a topic for a whole other show. We'll do a retro movie review of Debbie Does Dallas coming up soon. Don't you worry. But the screen grabs for that one are going to be excellent. But
not even monetized at all. Jesus Christ, we're never gonna get that.
Demonetized. They're gonna kick me off YouTube if I try that shit. But Mortal Kombat 2021, another American martial arts fantasy film directed this time by Simon McCoy. This is his feature film directorial debut, which, ironically enough, the last movie we just talked about, Mortal Kombat 95, was the first major motion picture directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. So maybe he follows the same path. We'll see. But it was from a screenplay by Greg Russo and David Callahan, with a story by them and some other people, based on the video game franchise, of course. And it's serving as a reboot to the Kombat film series, so it is definitely not a sequel. I know some people thought this was going to be kind of a spiritual sequel, that there was going to be some elements from the past, but they made it very clear that this was not going to be that. The film stars Louis Tan, Jessica McNamee, Josh Lawson, Tadanobu Asano, Machad Brooks, Ludi Lin, Chin Han, Joe Taslim, and Hiroki Sana. I am really, really bad at Asian names for some reason. Mortal Kombat was released by Warner Brothers Pictures and New Line Cinema internationally on April 8th, and was released in the United States today, simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max, the streaming service. The film has received some mixed reviews so far, with praise for the fight sequences and faithfulness to the games, but criticism for the screenplay. It did have
I don't know about that.
It had a modest budget of $95 million, and I think that's just about right. I don't think you wanted to go like 150 or 200 on this one. $95 million isn't terrible. But it's not helping on Rotten Tomatoes. They still have 55% out of 152 reviews being positive, with an average rating of 5.5 out of 10, which is really only about a point better than the 1995 version. The site's consensus reads almost the same as the last one, largely for fans of the source material, but far from fatally flawed. It says fatality flawed. It was pretty funny. Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat revives the franchise in appropriately violent fashion. Metacritic assigned the film an weighted average score of 43 out of 100 based on 33 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews, which that's all kind of in line with what the original got. So, I mean, what did you guys think of? First off, let's talk about that opening scene. They dropped the first off.
Let me just say before we get there, fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a lot of movies on that website get a fucking raw deal. In my opinion,
you got to think.
It's not an Oscar.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go off too much on this, but one of the good things about Rotten Tomatoes is it does show the wild disparity between fans and critics. I, for years now, have said, fuck every movie critic. I would never want to be a movie critic. I would much rather... I don't consider what I do on YouTube movie critic stuff. I consider myself a pundit more than a critic. Movie critics tend to go into every movie wanting to see the next Oscar-worthy film. And it's like, no. Most people just want to go to a movie and entertain for a couple of hours. So
exactly.
If you walk out of there, I mean, there's going to be some movies that are blatantly terrible. I mean, it's going to happen from time to time. There's a million movies that get made every year. One or two of them are bound to be just absolute fucking stinkers. But go in there and just want to be entertained. I mean, try to get lost in the characters. Try to get lost in the story or the environment. Try to find something positive to build your review on, and not just walk in there and think, this is going to suck. Because that's exactly how you're going to walk out thinking it's going to suck. Go check out, I mean, some of the biggest movies of the last 10 years, go check out the critic rating versus the audience rating. And it's like a 30 or 40 point disparity. It's insane. Critics don't know shit. Critics don't know. And on top of that, I think the critics are most critics, it's been something that's existed in Hollywood for a long, long time. Critics are usually on the take. If I'm a movie critic, somebody from New Line can reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I'm going to throw you a couple grand. Why don't you give me why don't you make sure you give me at least a 3 out of 5 stars, or maybe a 4 out of 5."
Well, that's the same thing with video games. That happens in that industry too.
Yeah, that's been prevalent in the movie critic industry for years, which is one of the reasons I think that a lot of people don't really. They don't even have. There's no Richard Malton anymore. Guys like him, those guys don't exist. They do their own thing kind of on the side now because they're mostly retired, and a couple of them might have YouTube channels. They just talk about film history and stuff like that. But those Richard Malton days are over. Siskel and Ebert, those days are gone. You don't have those guys out there anymore. And for a reason. There's a YouTube channel, I forget what it is. You can actually go back and watch Siskel and Ebert reviews of movies that nowadays are looked upon as like shining examples of great cinema. But there's like an hour of Siskel and Ebert shitting all over these movies. They thought Terminator was a terrible movie. It's one of the best sci-fi action movies ever made. If you listen to anybody else, but yeah, they really got it wrong on a lot of movies. A bunch of them they got them right, and they are timeless movies that everybody loves. But in a lot of them, they were just like, "Yeah, this movie's pretty terrible. I wouldn't suggest watching it." 2 thumbs down, and the next thing you know, it hits the secondary market, home video, and that was still like one of the biggest things, and it just blows up. So, yeah, fuck movie critics. I mean, I say go on there and look for the fan ratings. If the fan ratings are high, you're probably going to enjoy it.
I agree. I was gonna mention that. Don't listen to the critics' ratings. Look at the user or the public's review.
There's a reason they have
Internet Movie. Is the IMDb rating, is that on anybody or only members?
I think anybody can do that. But even the IMDb rating can be a little twisted from time to time. There's a couple movies on there that I just don't think it's right.
Here's the thing: it's like if you also just enjoy the movie for what it's gonna be. It's like, I mean, I watched the Sonic movie and I'm like, well, that's because I like the Sonic games. If you don't know anything about fucking Sonic, you're gonna be sitting there like, well, I didn't get that. That was kind of dumb. I'm like, yeah, you have to kind of.
But I felt with the Sonic movie, like they took so many liberties with that. Like, you can't take the Sonic games and portray that as a half live action, half CGI movie. So they did what they did with it.
That's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why you say it's hard to move the story over from one medium to the other, because some of them just don't carry over that well.
And then you have some writers and directors, like in the case of this Mortal Kombat movie, the 2021 one, where they completely just take so many liberties that it's pretty much its own story. And if you didn't know that the characters were from the video games, you wouldn't even know Mortal Kombat was a big fucking franchise based on this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this movie gave it a lot of potential to be a better franchise. And like I said, that opening scene was dope as shit.
Yeah.
What you said, Rose, chimes in with me because I haven't, when I watched it, I go, this seems like it's coming from a book, honestly.
So the story of Hanzo Hasashi, Hanzo is the human form of Scorpion. Sub-Zero, the story goes with Scorpion Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero kills his clan and his wife and child, and then he goes to kill Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero kills him. He comes back as a demon hellspawn known as Scorpion, hell-bent on revenge on killing Sub-Zero and his clan, the Lin Kuei, and they just go at it. And because now Scorpion is technically a specter, no matter how many times Sub-Zero would kill Scorpion over and over again, he would just come back stronger. That's how it went in the games. And they kind of brought that out in this movie as well, because you see Hanzo dies in the beginning of the movie after he wins like a 20-on-1 fight with the Lin Kuei, which looked a little ridiculous in my opinion. I think if you're outnumbered 20-1, I think you should have gotten your ass kicked at least a little bit. And then
the best guy ever lived for nothing.
And then and then after he took them out, then he heard the screaming and whatnot, and he found his wife and child frozen and dead. And then he yelled out Bihan, and Bihan is the first Sub-Zero. The first Sub-Zero, Bihan, is the one who is killed eventually, and then he turns into another character named Noob Saibot, who we did not see in this movie, and I have a feeling if they do make another movie, Noob Saibot will be in the next movie, and then we'll have the second Sub-Zero in the next movie, who is named Kuai Liang.
I thought that was what that little dark smoke shit was supposed to signal. I'm like, oh.
That's what I thought too, and then it was just Sub-Zero emerging out of the smoke. Yeah. I'm like, what?
But that could be the foreshadowing. I was like, wait,
it could be, yeah.
Noob now?
But I did like how they were faithful to Scorpion and Sub-Zero, at least at the most, because those are like the two most badass characters in the whole series.
Yeah,
and they're probably
that's your Batman and Joker. You know what I mean? That's fucking.
They're pretty much like the two most beloved characters in the series. And in the series, Bi-Han as Sub-Zero is a cold-hearted murderer, and he'll do whatever he has to. Cool. He'll do whatever he has to complete his mission, give it to him by his clan. And Kuai Liang is more, caring and less murderous. I mean, he'll do what he has to complete his mission too, but he won't kill, mercilessly if he doesn't have to. So I'm looking forward, if there is a second movie, I'm looking forward to see how Sub-Zero is written, and if they do go with that second Sub-Zero, or if they just write off the character now in the movies, which if they do that, that's a mistake.
That would be a huge mistake. That's one of their biggest characters in this movie.
But I am really happy that they wrote Sub-Zero as good as they did. They made him look like $1 million in this movie. A complete 180 compared to his character in the original movie, who is just a fucking jobber, who stands there in the original movie just forming like this ice barrier in front of him. And he's just waiting there for Liu Kang to fucking twirl this freaking bucket of water around and throw it at him, which causes that icicle that impaled him in that movie. Like, no, man. Like, you took one of the best characters and made him look like a moron. So I am glad they did the character so much justice in this movie.
Well, the second one was even worse. That character looked awful in the second one.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I thought all the characters were much more fleshed out in this newer movie. I thought the characters in this movie are so much better than they were in the first one, with the exception of
one thing.
It still had time to get everybody into their so-called costume or into their fucking role. I was like, Jack's already got his fucking arm ripped off, and I was like, oh, well, we're going there, aren't we? Cool. There's that.
Well, it's better how they explained it this time than in the second one, where he just has these prosthetics on his arms instead. His arms is still there. They just put some robot arms on top of his arm.
The one thing in the movie I did not like, and I feel like this is somewhat of a callback to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, was the fact that the characters had this marking, and the marking signified that they were the chosen one to fight in the tournament, which never happened again.
No. It's an interesting little twist, though. It's kind of nice. It's just
the characters who were the chosen ones, had to learn and dig deep within themselves to learn what their superpower is. I'm like,
that was a little hokey, especially when they're in that sand pit. Okay, this is where you find it out. And then they send the guy back to his family. Well, you didn't make the cut.
Yeah, and then
well, I mean, if you're going to sit here and explain, why, even Kano was like, you just shot fire out of your hands? Like, when the fuck can I do that? Like, yeah, if you're going to explain the fact that an Earth realm person can just fucking do that, if you're from any other realm, you just be like, that's just Jim. He does that.
Speaking of Kano, though, I said Johnny Cage had the line of the whole movie in the first movie. Kano stole the fucking show with his writing in that movie.
He did.
And the one scene he's yelling.
Yeah,
the one scene he's yelling over, "Give me a fucking egg roll" or whatever, and Liu Kang's telling Kano that he should be bowing down and thanking Kung Lao for saving his ass. And then Kano turns around and just says, "You two should be bowing down and taking turns sucking my sack. Now give me a motherfucking egg roll." And then he shot the laser beam out of his eyes. And then he looked over to them. He goes, "That was it, wasn't it? Did you see that? Fucking laser beams." He goes, That's better than fireballs, you fucking pussy.
Right.
Dude, that fucking
He
line.
had some of the best shit. He's like, hey, what you doing there, Gandalf? Or he goes down there to fight fucking Liu Kang. He's like, all right, none of that Harry Potter shit. All right,
I tell you what, man, when Kano unleashed that fucking pussy line, I'm like, oh my god, dude. If there was room in the theater, I would have fell out of my chair laughing.
His power made me think of the guy in X-Men, Cyclops. Is that what
Cyclops.
it is? The one who, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, why is it only in one eye? That was like
Was just the one.
Myself.
And I just didn't like how they said that the marking, which Cole thought was a birthmark, because he was born with it, and okay, that I understand. But the one Kano had was transferable.
Yeah, the transferring thing is like a little movie magic.
And then when Sonya kills Kano, then she
Jack
got
say he
the
got his that way too? Like, didn't Jack kill somebody that had one?
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he told Cole about that. But then you see it visibly. You see it visibly, like when Sonya kills Kano in their fight. You see it visibly appear on her arm. I'm like, really?
Well, I guess if you're meant to be worthy enough, it's like, if you can kill somebody that has one of those marks, if you're a chosen one to defend Earthrealm, and you get beat up by someone better than you. Yeah, it's like you get beat by someone better. It's like, well, obviously they're worthy of it more than you are, and you're dead. So.
I tried to like the Cole character. I kind of just couldn't. I mean, I didn't hate the character.
Yeah,
I didn't hate the character, but I'm like, I mean, they shoehorned him into being related to Scorpion because Scorpion's like the most favorite character of the whole series. So they kind of gave Cole the Roman Reigns treatment, for anyone who follows wrestling. Like, right now, Roman Reigns is like the biggest fucking thing ever in wrestling, so they tried to give that treatment to Cole by connecting him to Scorpion, who is like the biggest name out of all the characters in the series.
Well, speaking of video games, the thing that it reminded me of was that Ghostbusters video game that came out. It's like you're literally just playing some random like nobody recruit who's just there, like but with the Ghostbusters, who's established. I'm just like, yeah, who the fuck are you? Well, you're just kind of here now, and I'm like, oh, let me guess, you're about to be in the next video game, aren't you? They're gonna make your character from they do Assassin's Creed all the time. Like here's the dude from the movie. Like, whatever.
But before we get too much farther into this conversation, there's a donation I want to play real quick. Really Mysterious was cool enough to, as soon as that goes away, to drop a couple of bucks on us. I want to play his donation real quick. I've been having some trouble with the donations lately, but I haven't had a chance to fix it. Hopefully it'll play.
What's going on, RM?
I'm not sure if it's going to work now because I haven't really had a chance to mess with the donations. And for some reason, computer's not working very fast again, but if it doesn't play, I'll just read it. I didn't have a problem with them playing a while back, but for some reason, it's going to be a dickhead now. So I'll just read it to you. Really Mysterious says, cheers to the sexiest crew on YouTube. Frank, Casey, the Rose, Jeremy, and the fucking awesome Cora. I'll give it another second to play, but for some reason, it's just not. I don't really know why. But anyway, Really Mysterious is throwing us a little bit of love. Appreciate that, brother. I have to redo the donations. Maybe I just won't be able to play them on a separate scene like I like to. But anyway, one thing about these characters, I do think they were way more fleshed out, but there was one character in particular that I thought was pure fucking shit in both movies, and that was Sonya Blade. She is completely irrelevant to both stories. It's like I mean, they made her more relevant to this one, but I mean, if you would have took her out of the movie, you literally would have not missed anything. That's what I'm saying. She's completely ineffectual.
There's still supposed to be the struggle between her.
They had to have a chick in the main cast, or they would have been like shit on.
Oh, she's a character people love. She does have that little hustle with Kano all the time. It's like you kind of have to have it there.
Yeah,
but
I like how she in the fight with her and Kano, they had that moment where she did that fucking Hurricane Rana. She grabbed him with her she grabbed their head with her fucking legs, and she pulled him down with her freaking legs, and she freaking slammed his head against the toilet. I was like, holy shit, that's like a callback to their fight in the first movie.
Well, I mean, shit, they even put some of Sub-Zero's fucking moves in there, like where he stomps the floor and then the wall comes up, and I was like, all right, I see you. And the fucking blood.
They put his icicle spear. They put his icicle spear move from Mortal Kombat 11 in that movie. That actually looked killer. I mean, Sub-Zero is just overall badass. I didn't like how he was done dirty at the end of the movie, though. But
that's what I'm saying.
We'll get to that when we'll talk about the end.
Well, I don't like seeing my boy.
I don't think he was done. Yeah, I don't think he was done dirty at the end of the movie. I think he was in probably one of the most badass fight scenes in the movie. He wasn't. You know, you said he was made a jobber in the first movie, and I totally agree. I don't think they treated him the same way in this movie. He's definitely one of the keys to this overall arc of the story.
Well, what I mean is like, you know, as far as what I mean is like by doing him dirty is like at the end of the movie how they have Cole and Scorpion team up to beat him. I mean, I guess that shows that Sub-Zero is that much of a badass that one guy can't beat him by himself, and even Scorpion can't beat him alone.
Because they share blood. It's a bloodline thing. It's not necessarily. I mean, it's his descendant, and he's trying to protect his family bloodline.
Right, but I don't know. I just don't like that 2-on-1 aspect in the fight. I just didn't care for that. I mean, I understand why they did it, but I just didn't like it. I mean, in one way, it shows that Sub-Zero was this badass, and the only way to stop him was to double team him. But on the other hand, I don't like the fact that they did it to him.
He said we're not going to take him on by ourselves, like, you know.
And they are both in that bloodline. They are both in that bloodline, which is significant too, I thought.
Right. That's why I said I understand why they did it. I just didn't like the fact that they did. But at least they didn't go like fucking 5-on-1 against them like Cole hinted at doing before everybody took their chose again. They chose who they wanted to fight against. And
there was an aspect like that in one of the games where it's like every fucking time. I just remember Quan Chi being the biggest pussy I had ever fought in a game. Every time I would get close to beating his fucking ass, he would just tag out and go get someone else. He would tag out to someone else, and he'd fucking just beat me in a submission. He would tag back in and then finish me off. I'm like, God damn it.
I will say this, though. Goro looked 10 times better in this movie.
Oh, yes.
For being, he was fully CGI instead of half man, half puppet.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like that's probably the best way to do something like that, though. Unless you want to do it more like human-sized and not like Hulk-sized. If you're gonna make him that big, you're better off just going full CGI. But then again, I mean, they probably just. I mean, you got way better mocap now than you had back in like the mid '90s. I mean, the mid '90s mocap was still very, very new, very, very expensive, and not a lot of movies were using it. Nowadays, it's everywhere.
The one part in the movie where Sonya Blade is trying to buy Kano because they needed his help to find Raiden's temple, and Sonya goes, $2 million, come on, $2 million right now. And then Kano walks away and he goes, oh, what the hell, $3 million, final offer. And then she agrees on it, and then he says something, and then Kano walks away. And then Cole says to Sonya, he goes, you're really going to give that asshole $3 million? She goes, fuck no. She goes, I live in this shithole. You really think I got $3 million?
That is pretty funny.
I do like how they swerved us, though. They made it seem like he was going to fight for the good guys, and then he went to the bad side midway through the movie.
It was almost like foreshadowing that he was going to turn on them later on.
Oh, you knew that was going to happen.
Kano
be good.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I just like the fact. I just like the fact that they kind of built it in as like a swerve. For like the kind of like the people like the more casuals, I guess, who wouldn't have seen that coming.
Yeah,
like, he's a shady motherfucker though.
I did like Cabal though. He for the minimum amount of lines Cabal had, he had good lines too, and he was talking shit about Kano. That was great.
Yeah.
You would talk about all these other characters like fucking Melina that was in there, Katana.
Yeah, that pissed me off. How do you don't have Katana but you have Melina? Melina can't exist without Katana.
Well, we had Princess Katana in the last one. She even had the fucking fans or anything. She was just, hey, look at this pretty girl. I'm like, yeah, okay. But
in this movie, all you see is her fans in this movie. But Melina exists, and they jobbed her out too. When she
did you catch the fan?
Yeah, I saw the fan. So it clearly shows Katana exists. We just don't know it technically. But they had Melina in the movie without Katana when that's really not possible because, the followers of the games know Melina was created as a bastardized clone of Katana, which is why her face was all fucked up.
Well, it was also like Baraka too, right? His mouth was like same way.
Yeah.
So,
And Melina, for being like everyone's favorite female character, she was jobbed out in that movie too. Yeah, she probably
every time I saw her, I was kind of hoping she had more to do, but I was like, no.
Yeah, she had
cool
like
shot where her mouth fucking opened, but I was like,
She had 2 fight scenes against Sonya, and they were only like 30 seconds each. I'm like, that's it?
Right. I mean, when Sonya was like, "Oh, please, I'm gonna get the bitch with the teeth," and I'm like, "Please," and he's like, "No, you're gonna." I don't remember who he fucking told her to go fight. I'm like, "Damn it."
That was the other thing. That was the other thing about her that really bothered me about Sonya. It's like she goes the entire movie not having one of these birthmarks and not being able to have some special power. She gets one like halfway through, early in the third act, and she out of nowhere just develops her power with no real work. I'm like, come on, I'm like, whatever.
She shot those her signature magic ring right through Melina's fucking stomach.
Well, maybe it was. Well, I don't know. She was like already like a seasoned soldier / fighter, but I'm not saying like Cole wasn't like a professional, not professional, but a fighter most of his life too. I don't know. Maybe she figured it out quicker. I don't know.
I tried to like Cole, I really did, but I don't know. I just don't feel.
I couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I couldn't really get into him. And then when he finally learns his power, all he gets is like fucking super
metal
strength,
chest.
and super strength, the freaking armored body, and those weapons on his arms. The
like he kind of had like the Black Panther shit. Like every time he kept getting smacked, it just kept absorbing it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's your thing.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, this sucks. I'm like, this isn't cool.
I'm like, it's kind of weird, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I also don't know why they made Cole the kind of the center of this movie.
He was the original character, and they wanted him to be the main character.
I didn't.
For whatever reason. I am going to say, though, I did like Ludi Lin more than I thought I would. I thought he was a really good Liu Kang.
I liked him because I love Liu Kang, man. Other than like Sub-Zero, man, I really love Liu Kang.
I would much rather Liu Kang had been kind of the center of it.
Well, that's how it was supposed to be. I mean, if they weren't going to have Liu Kang as the standout, main character, main hero, like he was in the games, at least they kind of made it feel like all of them, since they were all referred to as Earthrealm champions instead of only the one being called the champion. I kind of like how they felt like they were all kind of treated equally. Like they all got their asses whooped throughout the movie, and then they all got their wins back, when they went for their rematches against them in the end. Except for Kung Lao. That kind of sucks that he got killed.
But can we talk about that fucking cool ass fatality? Yeah, like where he does the fucking,
when he freaking threw the fan down and it was like a buzzsaw and he freaking pulled Natara right into it and split her fucking body.
That was fucking dope. I love that shit.
I'm like, there's the game. There's where I wanted to see. Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like how the remaining heroes, they all kind of felt like they were equals. Like everybody got their win back in the end. Obviously, Cole is obviously the standout character because they've made him related to Scorpion. But, in the end, like they were all treated the same way. Like Liu Kang didn't feel any better than Sonya, and Sonya didn't feel any better than Jax. And if there is a sequel, hopefully they won't rush it out the door like they did back in the 90s, because that would just fuck everything up again.
I'm sure they probably will.
And not only that, but Johnny Cage is going to be in it. I'm anticipating Noob Saibot to be in it. Sub-Zero's got to come back as Kuai Liang because that's the second Sub-Zero.
Maybe like Cyrax or something. Get the robot guys in there too.
I would think because Shang Tsung hasn't technically not been stopped yet. So, they gotta at least wrap up the story. They technically didn't wrap up the story they were conveying in this movie.
Yeah,
they killed his fighters, but that's it.
Yeah, because he said when I come back, I'm not coming back with just these warriors.
I'm not coming back with fighters. I'm coming back with an army. So it's like the story clearly isn't over yet. So if they don't come back with at least the second movie to at least wrap up this story, it's gonna feel pretty shitty, in my opinion.
This is a quote from Joe Taslim, who played Sub-Zero in the recent movie, in the new movie. He said, "We don't know if we're going to have a sequel. Fingers crossed that we have a sequel. If this one's successful, maybe we can do more." Now, here's something that actually... There is something that actually kind of helps out the possibility of this movie being a bigger success than it would have been under normal circumstances. People are just itching to get back to the theaters now. So, and I think that's showing because Godzilla vs. Kong has done really well the last couple of weeks since it came out. And I have a feeling that this movie is going to do pretty well. I missed the, I think it had already done something like $15 million, like since it released internationally. I would imagine you're going to probably put the same number, give or take a little more, into the U.S. box office for the first week. So I would imagine the movie's going to do pretty well just because theaters are open back up. We're kind of getting out of the whole pandemic thing, and people are going to go rush into the theaters. And this is a movie that, A, the trailers look freaking amazing, and B, people still want to go see it. It is a hot property. I mean, there is still a huge video game base that wants to see this movie. So I think that could push the box office up to where they might say, we're going to go ahead and give this thing a sequel. And, it would be great because, they did leave that little teaser about Johnny Cage at the end. So, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think that it's going to make enough money to get a sequel?
I hope so, but I can honestly say when I was at the theater earlier today, I mean, I went for the matinee showing, so this probably plays into why what happened, what I'm about to say. So the movie theater I went to, each theater room has like 340 total seats, right? Now, because of the pandemic, they're going to rope some of them off because of the social distancing and everything else. So out of the 340 seats, they left 144 of them open, which is a little less than half. But out of those 144 people, including myself that was in that theater this afternoon, there was maybe 10, maybe 12 people in that whole room. That was it.
I think it'll end up doing well. I think it'll end up doing okay. I don't know that it's going to do Godzilla vs. Kong numbers. I don't know if the movie had that kind of buzz. But like I said, the trailer was freaking amazing. And there is a big base out there that wants to see it.
I'm just hoping it draws a big enough profit. I'm just hoping it draws a big enough profit so that WBC is like, hey, we want more of this. Because if they're willing, despite how fans didn't really care too much for Suicide Squad or the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, but yet here we go again. Here comes another Suicide Squad movie. I hope Warner Bros. Gets the message and sees that, hey, we fans want to see more of this. Even if it doesn't do the biggest numbers, like even if it's a little underwhelming to their standards, I still hope we see another one. Like I said, at least to wrap up this ongoing story.
Yeah, it's made
it's clearly not over
yet.
On a $95 million budget.
So far, 19.4 against a $95 million budget. Now, in order to break even, you got to take the budget and multiply it by probably 2. So you're going to have to do probably $200 million to break even.
And it doesn't help that HBO Max is giving this movie out for free for a month. So that's probably going to hurt.
That's what I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
That's what I was going to ask. What kind of money is HBO Max given to Mortal Kombat?
I don't know how that's factoring into box office, to be honest.
I was wondering that too.
Because it hasn't really. I mean, it's like Disney is not like whenever you like some of these streaming services just don't release their viewership numbers. Netflix is notorious for just not releasing their viewership numbers. They all the time go out there and say, "Hey, all these things we put out there, Stranger Things, all this, they're doing great. They're doing great." And you're like, "Okay, how many people are watching them?" They're like, "We don't really talk about our viewership numbers." It's like, well, how do we know? Then how do we know that more than 4 people are watching Stranger Things? Because the only thing we really have to go on is that Netflix says it's doing great. Now, yeah, the merchandising and stuff helps,
and they
all the
let
talk
you
on
do
the internet.
reviews too.
Yeah, but there really isn't any clear way as to how they're going to divvy all this stuff up. Now, I know that they had to change the way that they paid directors and actors because a lot of times when you make a movie, some of the big actors might take a little bit less money up front, but they'll take like a percentage of the box office for the first 6 weeks or whatever like that, kind of on the back end. So I know that they've had to rearrange how they do a lot of stuff. Like I know Tenet was a big thing when they were talking about releasing Tenet and stuff like that on HBO Max a long time ago. They were trying to work out deals with Christopher Nolan about how he was going to get paid, because he had one of those back end deals that eventually that wasn't going to bring any money on the back end because they weren't going to release it theatrically. So there was going to be no money to be made for him to make any money on the back end. So they had to come to an agreement with him to pay him an additional X amount of money to get permission to throw it on HBO Max. So a lot of those deals are getting made right now. And I don't really know how much that's changing the break even point of some of these movies. Because, I mean, you're looking, like most of these movies, you say this one had about a $100 million budget. You're looking at another $100 million in marketing, because that's going to be, you know, the big ad for the Super Bowl, and they put out Super Bowl ads last year. You're looking at all the other advertising. You're looking at all the other stuff that you're putting out. I mean, this stuff costs money. So yeah, you're looking at, you have to do double your budget to break even. Sometimes 3 times your budget, depending on the movie. Like, think about the Marvel movies. They all have a budget of $250 million. They put at least $150 million into marketing for all those movies. So if those movies don't do $500 million, they lose money for Marvel and Disney. So it's but again, I really don't know how they're processing all the financials for this stuff. I haven't really heard anything about it. Maybe I'll shoot a question to John Campy and he'll answer it in the next couple of days. I don't know.
I wonder if after the fact, HBO tells them the numbers and HBO pays them per view.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, because like, how are they going to make money on this movie if HBO Max is giving it away for free for a month? Especially when you could have people like Casey.
They're not giving it away. We're paying to be subscribers.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
And on top of that, it's only for a month. If you're one of those casual movie fans, it's like, yeah, I'll watch it when I get around to it, and you don't watch it in the first month, then you have to go to the theater to see it. And then on top of that, movies like these are kind of event movies anyway. It's like nobody goes to the theater and sees a Marvel movie one time. It's like people like me and Jeremy, we all go like 4 or 5 times to see these movies in theater. So, but
I didn't see Star Wars once. I just kept going to see it like 2 or 3 times.
I saw Force Awakens 7 times.
But I'm just saying, like, people like Casey, who admitted to signing up for HBO Max for free, so he's got that 1 month trial or whatever it is.
I paid for it. I think I paid for it. I mean, I might just do it for 1 month and cancel.
I don't know.
Rose, you have to pay for the first month. I think you get 7 days free.
Yeah.
But you still have to pay for that first month regardless.
Well, I think you get a 7-day trial, but I signed up for 2 different accounts a while back, and I got charged the full month both on the get.
Okay, because like all the streaming services I've ever used, even Netflix, I got a 30-day free trial at the time, and I didn't have to pay for it right away. That's why I was saying, like, all these people, people that signed up, if they got even if they got a week free trial and they could cancel it, cancel their trial before they actually have to pay for it, then those people got to watch this movie for free. How does that help Warner Bros? How does that help the studios who
I don't know. And
filled out for this movie to make that money back?
It's almost gone. I think everything has a 7-day trial anymore now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing of the past in itself. So I bet they're banking that most people who saw this movie on HBO Max already had HBO Max subscriptions for things like Wonder Woman and what was the other big one we watched recently, Frank? King versus Kong or
Godzilla versus Kong is on there.
Yeah.
The Little Things.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
So I think they've already had the subscription base. And I don't know if Mortal Kombat's going to bring more people in, but they did with Casey, so maybe there is something to
it'll
that.
Bring in a few. I mean, that's one of the things that Disney was hoping to do with making it with potentially maybe putting Black Widow and stuff on there, and then they eventually decided to do the dumb thing and start charging people who already had Disney Plus to watch these movies they were dropping on there. But I do want to go into some of the trivia stuff, because there is some interesting stuff before we start to wrap this up. The Red Band trailer clocked 106 million views in its first week, becoming the biggest Red Band trailer of all time, beating the 4-day mark of both Logan and Deadpool 2. So that's how damn good that trailer was, and it was. That trailer is dope as fuck. I loved it.
I mean, I'll admit, I probably watched it about 10 times myself the first day it came out.
I watched it several times, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I did too.
But also, we talked about, we just talked about the original Mortal Kombat. Lyndon Ashby, who played Johnny Cage in the 1995 version, revealed in an interview that he would appear in the film as another character. I didn't catch it. I missed it. I'll have to actually go investigate that and see exactly where he was at.
Well, I'm watching this movie again.
I'll probably watch it again. I enjoyed it. Where was the one? There was one that I thought the wrestling fans would like. Oh, well, here's an interesting one. Jean-Claude Van Damme's daughter, Bianca Bridget Van Damme, auditioned for the role of Melina, and you can see her training for the audition in the television series Jean-Claude Van Damme Behind Closed Doors. Apparently, she did not get it. Oh, sad face.
That sucks.
Yeah, Sissy Stringer got it instead.
I heard you guys talking earlier about the character of Rain. Rain was actually in the script, but was later cut out of everything before they started filming.
Damn.
What is the difference in runtime between the first one and this one, by the way?
The first movie was, I believe, 85 minutes, and this one was an hour and 50 minutes. So it's about 25. It's almost a half an hour longer.
Yeah, back in the 90s, to have more than an hour and a half long movie was kind of rare. Most movies were about 90 minutes. Some went farther than that. Silence of the Lambs and, Titanic was the first big one that went for, 3 hours. But Shawshank was a long one. But it was pretty rare to go more than an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes back in the mid-90s for almost anything. What was the wrestling one?
Well,
actually, Joel Edgerton was actually considered for the role of Kano. I love Joel Edgerton. I think it would have been pretty dope.
I'm happy with the Kano we got. Like I said, his writing, the character, the way they wrote his character and the lines they wrote for him, he easily stole the show in terms of the writing and the way the character did the lines. It was fantastic.
Well, what did he said in the trailer house after the incident with the?
When he did the heart, when he did the heart rip fatality. Yeah, when he did the heart rip fatality on Reptile, and he goes, "Kano wins, you fucking beauty."
Yeah, and then he said he was better looking because of the scar, or something like that. I was like, that's a cocky motherfucker. You got scrape marks.
Well, that's how his character is. He's a fucking scumbag. That's how his character is.
Yeah, he's not a good guy at all.
Even Cabal said it when he was talking to Shang Tsung about him. He goes, this guy is a low-down, low-life, piece of shit scumbag. You'll love him. Yeah, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, he's not a good guy at all. I was really surprised they tried to make him out to be a good guy early in the movie.
That's why I said I really liked that swerve. Coming from a hardcore fan who knows the games, these games have been a part of my life for 27 years, almost 28 years now. I really like that swerve. I'm like, holy shit, are they really going to turn this guy face? And then he goes heel anyway. I'm like, nope.
Here's a little something for all you wrestling fans out there. There's quite a few in the community. Do you know who was rumored to be who was rumored to be in contention for the role of Sonya Blade early on? Trish Stratus.
Sonya Deville?
Oh, Trish Stratus?
Yeah, Stratus. Sorry, I was reading it wrong.
Strauss. Trish
I don't know
Stratus.
why. Trish Stratus was actually rumored to play Sonya Blade at one point early on.
I'm kind of glad she didn't get the role. I don't think it would have fit her.
No, I agree.
Let's see what else we got here.
I mean, the Sonya Blade we got had some wrestling moves in her arsenal. She showed, she used quite a few of them. She used quite a few takedowns and a cross arm breaker and shit in the movie. But I don't know. I just don't think Trish Stratus would have been right for the movie.
I don't mean to be rude, but I think they wanted a younger person who looked young that could pass for being in their late 20s.
True.
Trish is not that young. And also,
oh no, this
actress, she did a good job. I mean, she was blonde and pretty, but the way they portrayed her and the way she carried herself, it was almost believable that she was in Special Forces.
Yeah,
Let's see, what else do we got here? See, the wall of information showcases 2 items referring to Mortal Kombat fighters. One was a picture of a Native American refers to the Native American fighter Nightwolf, and a picture of an Aztec statue who resembles the Aztec fighter Kotal Khan. I probably mispronounced
Kotal Khan from Mortal Kombat 10 and 11. Kotal Khan made his appearance, his series debut in Mortal Kombat 10 back in 2015.
Liu Kang also mentioned Borracho.
Yes, yep.
Because I was like, oh yeah.
I did like the one reference. I did like the one reference they made though, like when Jax first met Cole after he got his ass whooped in that freaking cage fight. I like Jax when he said that he met Cole, and he said to Cole, he goes, you're the guy who took that title off of Eddie Tobias. I'm like, holy shit, Eddie Tobias. That's a callback right there to Ed Boon and John Tobias, the two guys who created Mortal Kombat, and back in the 90s. That was pretty cool. I really like how they kind of gave those two like a shout out without actually shouting the two out. Kind of like how they made the Noob Saibot character. It's just Boone and Tobias spelled backwards. So I really liked that reference. That was cool.
A few of the more spoiler trivia things. At the end of the film, obviously, they I don't know why this is considered spoiler. I mean, it's in the film. It's pretty obvious. At the end of the film, Cole Young reveals that he's going to Hollywood to look for another fighter. The fighter is revealed to be Johnny Cage, and you don't get a good look at who he is, suggesting that he will appear in the next film.
I like that.
I thought it was a cool little reference. I also like how it was a subtle setup for another movie.
Like, what's in Hollywood?
Right.
He goes, it's not about what's in Hollywood. It's about who. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, okay. Because remember they said, well, we're going to make a list of new champions to search for. So I just assumed that this was his assignment to go find one champion who happens to be in Hollywood. When I first watched it, not seeing the first movie or playing the video game, that was my first thought.
I was like, as soon as he said Hollywood, I'm like, it's Johnny Cage. I already knew where he was going with that.
Yeah, they also pulled a lot of different characters from a lot of different versions of the game. Goro, Kano, Liu Kang, Raiden, Reptile, Scorpion, Shang Tsung, Sonya, Sub-Zero were all there in the very first Mortal Kombat game. Jax, Kung Lao, and Mileena first appeared in Mortal Kombat 2. Cabal was introduced in Mortal Kombat 3. Reiko was added to the roster in Mortal Kombat 4. Natara became available in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, which came out in 2002.
Which was Mortal Kombat 5.
Yeah, although Scorpion, Hanzo, Hasashi's family was the driving force for the story since the first game, their names of Harumi and Satoshi were not revealed until Mortal Kombat Armageddon in 2006.
Yeah.
That's some deep game shit that Rose would probably know way before me.
Oh, yeah.
I played the shit at Armageddon. That was my shit back then. So many creative characters.
And there's a reason, I could tell you the reason why Natara was jobbed out the way she was, where she made that appearance where she was flying around the area where Kung Lao and them were, and then she perched up on top of the statue before she flew at Kung Lao, and then he did that freaking thing. He did that one move, and then he threw the fucking hat down and hit her with the fatality. That's because I'm guessing whoever was, writing this movie or one of the big wigs behind this movie was probably a fan of that character, and I could understand that. But Ed Boon has gone on record stating that he does not like the 3D era games that a lot of fans love. That 3D era of the Mortal Kombat, Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon from 2002 through 2006. Ed Boon, the creator, the founder of Mortal Kombat, has gone on record and stated he hates those games and doesn't really like any of those characters. Any of those newer characters that he made for those games. So it's pretty cool to see a character from one of those games appear, because he said he pretty much hates all those characters. But she was jobbed out like that, and she literally did nothing in that movie because he hates those characters. I think he had it in that movie that he probably told them, hey, you could put this character in this movie, but I want that character killed off. They're not doing shit in this movie. They're just there.
Cool
They're just there. They're just there as a callback, and that's the end of it. You know.
Yeah, Will Tactics is in the chat giving his 2 cents. He said Cole's character was whack. I agree. I wasn't as excited about having him in the lead.
I wasn't really into him. Like I said, he kind of felt forced on us in a way.
I'm sorry, I hate to be a purist, but I'm kind of like, I didn't really care that you're in the movie. I'm like, I don't need you to be here. I just kind of wanted to see the characters from the game that I fucking enjoy seeing. I would have loved to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero just duke it out the whole fucking, every once in a while.
He also says something interesting. He says this movie started out great and ended horribly. I do feel like the movie was on a bit of a steady downturn. It was a steady decline. I didn't hate the ending of the movie, but I thought the first half was much, much better than the second half. Yeah, because it suffered from, like I said, the characters were better with the exception of Sonya. I think her character's a waste. The story of the tournament thing, I would rather they have just done away with this whole idea of the tournament and just said we're going to go fight to protect the Earth realm and then just let it be a battle. It seems like that would have made more sense because once again in this movie it really was this. It's supposed to be a tournament. We're not really going to have a tournament. We're just going to go have these random skirmishes and see who wins in the end. It's not really a tournament.
Shang Tsung said multiple times in this movie, we're going to cheat. We're going to kill off all the Earthrealm fighters before the tournament. So pretty much saying, we don't want the tournament. We want to win by default by killing everybody who is going to be in the tournament so that there is no tournament.
Yeah, and the
story... it's not like we can't fight outside of the tournament, so...
Yeah, and the story itself, I just thought it was not great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Love the fighting scenes. Love the fighting scenes. I love the way. I love the way that we got much better characters, with the exception of Sonya. But that's really the only thing to me that it has that is a giant step up from the 1995 film.
Well, actually, Reptile was a hell of a lot worse than his original counterpart in the 95 movie.
Was a big
Reptile was a fucking waste. I didn't like him. He was a fucking waste.
I kept waiting. When it had a little slow look like he was about to stand up, and I was like, oh, there it goes. There. Oh, no. He still isn't.
Yeah, I didn't like Reptile. I think he sucked.
Well, the CGI was better for the lizard anyway.
True.
I'll give it that.
I didn't care for
Don't you think that scene where they're going after him in her little garage cements the three together and also gets Cole to believe in this shit?
I mean, I guess
that was a good scene. That was a good scene, but it doesn't save the overall story for me.
I wanted to give Cole a chance, and I did throughout this movie. But, when he finally learned his powers, I'm like, okay, this guy sucks. I just want him to die.
Yeah, I was kind of still like, your deal?
They kind of forced him on us, and I don't like a character being forced on us. Like, hey, here's Scorpion. Everybody loves Scorpion. Well, Cole Young is his relative, so you have to like him now. Like, no, fuck you.
But you see, I'm okay with him kind of bending the roles around, though. I'm not as upset about that.
I like you tried to do. I'm just saying, I thought maybe he was going to become like some Neo version of Scorpion. Like he's going to be like a new modern version of him. Maybe he was going to fight Sub-Zero in the end or something. I don't know.
I mean, well, he did fight Sub-Zero at the end, and then
Scorpion. I know, but with Scorpion, they could like a little, fusion and just then kicked his ass. I don't know.
I did like the get over here with Scorpion when he pulled. He threw the spear at Cole, and he pulled Cole out of the way of Sub-Zero's attack.
Yeah,
I thought that was a pretty good.
It's contractually obligated to fucking say that line. That's just for us. He's gonna say it.
Oh yeah, he had to. Uh-huh. He had to, absolutely. You can't have Scorpion without saying "get over here."
Danny Elias in the chat says he thinks they will still have the tournament. I mean, that could be something that popped up in the second movie. I would imagine they've probably already got some ideas written down for the sequel. They're just kind of waiting to see how much money it makes in the box office before they commit to another $100 million budget.
Well, like I was saying, fucking even Raiden, who was one of the gods, he even said I thought you couldn't get involved. And he kind of just looks at him. I'm like, you cheeky fucker. He's like, yeah, because I gave you the fucking little.
Technically, well, see, they changed that a little too because in the games he does get involved when there's cheating, when Shao Kahn is cheating in the games, Raiden does step up and he gets in the middle of it. But in the tournaments, he's not allowed to actually fight as an elder god in the tournament because, he's a god. That's a little unfair.
Yeah, he's an elder god. He's not. He's just there to protect her throne.
But outside of the tournament, which, again, they were cheating, the tournament, they made it a point to say the tournament hasn't started yet. Raiden could have gotten involved other than just teleporting the characters all over the place. He could have gotten involved, but they changed his character just a little bit.
Maybe he's just trying to be the bigger elder god.
Although I kind of did like how much of a dickhead he was when you first saw him in the movie. Like when Liu Kang brought them to meet him, Raiden turns around and looks at them. He looks at Cole, he looks at Sonya, he looks at Kano, he looks at them, he goes, "This is what I have to work with?" Like, what a fucking asshole.
Like, fuck all you guys. God damn it. If this is my hand, I'm folding. Fuck this one. No.
One more interesting piece of trivia about the name Mortal Kombat that I thought was interesting, and we'll go into this before we start to wrap up, is when the original Mortal Kombat game was being developed, it was originally titled Mortal Kombat spelled with a C, but there was difficulty in securing that title, so video game designer Steve Ritchie suggested renaming the game to Mortal Kombat spelled with a K, which creator Ed Boon observed that the strikingly misspelled title helped to draw attention. So that's how we get Mortal Kombat spelled with a K.
And that's how you had the running gag in the games with everything that starts with the letter C is spelled with a K.
The crypt is spelled with a fucking K, and I was like,
yeah, the crypt, coins, continue, combos, they're all spelled with the letter K instead of a C. Conquest with a K.
Sub-Zero's ice sword that the Cory blade was made out of resin with a plastic wrap type of film inside to give an icy look under the lights. That's kind of cool. Now I kind of want to mess around with some resin and see if I can make one of those things.
I was gonna say,
I fucking love Sub-Zero's Cory blade.
Me as somebody who's like a prop person who likes making shit like that, you said that, I'm like, ooh. Well, I might fuck around with some stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna change my name from Casey is Raw with a C. I'm gonna change it to Casey is Raw with a K.
That would draw attention, though. It's like if you did that shit and it popped up on Jerusalem on Sundays, people would be like, "What the fuck, Casey? What are you doing?"
Honestly, Casey, you should do that. You should do that.
Just do it.
Totally change your gamer tag to Casey is Raw with a K.
Yeah.
It would be unique, I would say that much.
That would be kind of cool. Hell, I've seen stranger gamer tags out there. I don't think yours is the weirdest one.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah, mine's literally the title of a fucking book. I am not original. I keep asking where it came from.
Danny Elias says something in the chat that's kind of interesting. He said, I think they said they had won the 9 straight tournaments, so Shang Tsung won't lose that easy. Did they actually play the tournament in this movie?
No.
So there is still that out there.
They made it a point multiple times. They made it a point multiple times for Shang Tsung to say, wipe out all the Earthrealm fighters before the tournament begins. And even when Shang Tsung invaded Raiden's temple, he even said that the tournament didn't begin. And he made Shang Tsung leave. And he did leave. Until Kano turned on them, which... Well, like I said, again, was a nice swerve.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's an easy setup for another sequel. I don't know. Part of me is hoping they make a sequel. I didn't hate this movie. I thought it was decent. I thought it was a couple steps better than the last one, or than the 1995
I'm sure they're
one,
going to
rather.
put something out soon, don't you think? That they're going to make a sequel, or they intend to?
No.
Some of the actors will probably get asked in interviews, did they sign you up for subsequent movies or not?
Well, signing actors
for
multiple films is not an unusual thing. For example, they signed Harrison Ford for all 3 of the Star Wars sequels, but they really had him plan on having him in the one. So when you sign someone to a contract to be in a movie, you don't even have to put them in the movie. You can decide to cut their character out; it's no big deal. You still have to pay them. But it's what was the one? Who am I thinking of? The one girl who was supposed to be in, what the hell was it? Batman vs Superman. Goddamn, what's the name of the girl? Anyway, I forget her name. But she was supposed to. No, not Gal Gadot. It was somebody else who was supposed to play a significant role in one of the DC movies, and they cut her out completely. So, I mean, it kind of, it doesn't matter. But, and the reason, honestly, the whole reason they ended up bringing Harrison Ford back for the last movie is because they hadn't figured out a way to put Princess Leia in that scene. He's having that conversation with Kylo Ren. So they reached out to Harrison Ford and said, hey, we want to shoot this scene, but we don't have her available anymore. We'd rather have you come, pop into the set for a couple of days for one day to do it. If that's cool with you, we'll throw you an extra couple of bucks. And he said, yeah, okay, fine, because my character's dead, which is what he always wanted anyway. Harrison Ford notoriously, very famously, always wanted Han Solo to die. So that's why he was in the third movie, was because they didn't have Carrie Fisher available anymore after she passed away, unfortunately. But
and they're just tugging at my goddamn heartstrings.
Yeah, it's not unusual. I mean, hell, look at Billy D. Williams. They had signed Billy D. Williams to play Harvey Dent, I think, in 3 or 4 movies. Back in the late 80s when they had done the Tim Burton Batman movies. But as they went on and Tim Burton left the project, they had to buy Billy D. Williams out of that contract in order to sign Tommy Lee Jones to come in and play Harvey Dent and Two-Face in that one movie. Because technically speaking, he was contractually obligated to be the one that played that role. They had to buy Billy D. Williams out and cast Tommy Lee Jones. So I mean, they could have signed them to a multi-picture deal, but just because you sign somebody to a multi-picture deal doesn't mean you're going to make multiple pictures in that franchise. So honestly, it's going to be a bit of a wait. I think under normal circumstances, if it would have released in the theaters, it would have done $60 or $70 million opening week. It probably would have made a cool 30 or 40 million for the studios under normal circumstances. They probably would have said, you know what? Well, we got to the point where we're going to go ahead and we're going to start moving, maybe not greenlighting, but moving forward on a sequel. But right now, coming out of the pandemic and all that, I think they still want to wait to see exactly how much the movie makes, to see exactly how the industry as a whole kind of recovers going through the next 6 to 12 months before they really kind of commit to anything. Because $95 million is not a small chunk of change, even for a motion picture company. I mean, Disney still has to get financing to make Marvel movies. Those are $250 million. You would think Disney has $250 million burning a hole in Bob Chapek's pocket, but no, they have to actually have those movies financed. So it's a heavy financial burden to try to make a movie these days, especially one of the bigger ones like this. So they want to make sure that they're actually going to get some kind of significant return before they really start to push a sequel down the line. That's my guess. So I would say it's probably going to be 6 months or a year before we hear much of anything about a sequel.
And if we do see a sequel, I don't think we should see it until maybe 2024 at the earliest.
It could be a little sooner. I mean, because for one, the principal photography on movies doesn't take very long anymore anyway. I mean, hell, the Avengers Endgame, they only did principal photography for I think 4 or 5 months. But when they were done with principal photography, you've got probably a year worth of post-production, editing, audio, all that stuff, CGI you got to finish up. So that's where the length of movie making time goes anymore, is in post-production. But for this movie, I mean, you could probably shoot it all. Actually, I forgot what it said. I think this movie filmed in Australia over the course of about 2 months. Is what I thought I saw a little bit ago when I was looking at it. So you could film this movie pretty quickly. And then you've already got the post-production and the CGI already working as soon as you have the dailies, the filming they do that day, they're called dailies. As soon as you send those dailies to the production company or the special effects people, they get to work on them right away. I would imagine from opening day of the shoot to release, probably about a year. So, I mean, it could conceivably be out sometime in 2023.
I mean, I just don't want to see another Rush story. That's why I'd rather,
that's very important.
I want to see them take a couple of years, to develop the story and not having a fucking Annihilation repeat.
Yeah, I agree. That's very, very important to me. But as we start to wrap this up, let's give a few closing thoughts on the film. We'll start with you, Miss Cora. What do you think of this new 2021 version of Mortal Kombat?
I really liked it, and I hope they do a sequel.
As do I. How about you, Casey is Raw, spelled with a K?
Gotta do it now.
No, I think it was pretty good. I mean, I really liked how they did the Sub-Zero and the Scorpion characters. I do hope they do make a sequel. And I agree with everyone with this Cole character. I did not like that they forced down my throat. And I at least they should have surrounded it around Liu Kang like the first movie. That's what they really should have done. Then some person they just made up with some weird metal chest and some weird batons with knife blades. I'm like, to me, that was just thrown in there. But minus Cole, I thought it was a pretty good movie. So, that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, I can't argue with really any of that. My hetero life mate, Jeremy, what do you say about this?
Well, it's definitely, even just visually, it's a big improvement because obviously I know we're working 2021 versus 1995, but I guess in 1995 they were just blown the fuck away by this. I don't know. I appreciate that it's still stepped up and kind of like what we expect from a Mortal Kombat game, like where people are getting, cut the fucking half by a goddamn spinning hat, shit like that. That was the coolest fucking thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and now that I see Jax on screen, I also didn't really dig the fact that he went from having little noodly C-3PO wiry arms to somehow they turned into like Transformer fucking vibranium arms. I have no idea how the hell that worked, but whatever.
That was plot armor. He had to save Sonya, and he couldn't lift that big ass rock.
He got his, his guy's little Viagra arms, and he fucking just lifted that bitch. I don't know. I guess it explains why Sonya got her shit so fast. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I like how it was a little more fleshed out, and I appreciate the Hanzo and Sub-Zero shit. I hope for a sequel because if we actually get to the tournament now in the second one, I really want to see this shit go down.
Can I mention one other thing? I wish they kept to just the original game with the original characters, not throw a bunch of people from different games into this. Maybe tied with Mortal Kombat 2, but I don't like how they go like further forward. We're like all the way into the 2000s versions of Mortal Kombat.
Well, they did that because you got to remember, some people who are in their late teens and like in their early 20s now were kids when Mortal Kombat 4 came out, when Mortal Kombat Deception came out, So they wanted to give like a little bit of everything to everybody, I think.
Well,
across the fan base.
Well, you gotta remember, it was rated R, so it's supposed to be, for people.
This is for us.
Like 18 and up.
Right, but you gotta remember, I'm talking about like people as kids. You gotta tell me, if you're gonna tell me right now that you thought kids weren't playing Mortal Kombat back then, you're out of your mind, because I was 4 years old playing the very first original game.
I'm pointing
so let me tell you, there are plenty of kids back then who were playing Mortal Kombat 4 who got into the series with Deception or Deadly Alliance, what have you. So I think, like I said, they were probably, the people behind the movies were probably fans of these characters and wanted to see them in the movie in some way. But I think they were also included, like shoehorned into the movie as fan service, for people all across the Mortal Kombat timeline that have been fans, no matter like where you got into the series.
You know what my thought was with the whole fucking Cole character might have just been, it kind of, because if we've seen Justice League and we've seen the Snyder Cut now, there's one glaring thing that was different. They completely cut out the pointless fucking Russian family. I'm like, who are you? I don't care. I don't care that I have to have some fucking, like, I don't know, is this an everyday Russian, Sokovian, whatever fucking you are family that I have to care about because the world's coming to a fucking end in their goddamn Chernobyl backyard? I don't fucking care. I get it. There's supposed to be some sort of, I don't know. It's just, am I supposed to care about them? Because that's what I felt like Cole was. I'm like, okay, he's got a family. Yeah, he's got a stake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they tried to make you like, they tried to make you like him because he had a family he was fighting to protect. Good for him.
Yeah,
he's related to Scorpion, so you have to like him. No, fuck you.
Get it.
It's like you're already fighting.
The fucking world isn't at stake.
Yeah, you're already fighting to save the world. Do I really need to care about your family specifically? It's like,
I mean,
you're fighting for everybody's family.
Yeah. That was just stupid.
That was cool when his wife fucking was like, "Oh fuck this," and just. I mean, she went at Goro with a fucking act.
That was pretty badass. I give her a lot of props for that.
I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you married that woman because holy shit, she was gonna stab a fucking mutant for your ass. I'm like, all right, that was pretty cool. I don't know. That's just what I had a thought. It reminds me of the family from fucking Justice League, where I'm like, why are you here? I'm not invested in you. I don't care. God damn it. I care to be eaten by these fucking bugs.
And with that, we'll go to the Rose for his final thoughts on this film.
Before I give you my final thoughts, let me ask you guys a quick question. In the scene where they were flying in supposedly Kano's plane, and they were flying over the desert before they jumped out of the plane, did anybody think of like all the various battle royale games and like that meme people say like, "Where are we dropping, boys?"
Uh-huh.
When they opened that freaking plane and they jumped out of it, I literally said it in the theater. I'm like, "Where are we dropping, boys?"
It didn't occur to me until you said that, actually.
Don't make a Mortal Kombat battle royale. I don't want that.
But my final thoughts on the movie, for what it was, I thought it was really good. Change is good in a story, so I don't completely dislike what they did. I can't stress enough how much I don't care about Cole, even though I did give him a chance. You know, and then once they made the connection to Scorpion with his lineage, I'm like, okay, fuck this guy. Then that's when it started to feel forced on us, like we had to like him. Like, no, fuck you. In my opinion, I think the fight scenes were too short. Like, in a lot of the fight scenes, like, you're just getting into the fight, and when you're just getting into it, it's over.
I get where you say that. I get that.
Like, the fight with Melina and Sonya, which was actually a callback to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, because those two characters fought in that movie, too. You wanted to see that, go a little bit longer, especially because, again, Melina's, like, the top girl for the series, like everyone's favorite female character. You want to see that go a little longer. I kind of wish they did Reptile better, but yeah, they completely screwed him.
They gave Melina the classic little, like, where she licks the fucking blood off the side. I was like, all right.
Yeah, I like that too. And
thanks for that.
I thought Ludi Lin was a really good Liu Kang. He showed off his martial arts skills for sure. When he slammed his fire fist into the ground, and the fucking dragon comes up out of the ground and eats Cabal in half. I'm like, yes, love it.
He even did the symbol too. I was like, okay, sweet.
That was probably one of the longer fights in the movie. Like, if you were to take both fights and put it together, that was probably one of the longer fights in the movie. It's Liu Kang. I mean, you kind of have to give him, more like a longer fight compared to somebody like, Reiko. Reiko and Jax.
I didn't really care
for that fight. I didn't care for that fight. I didn't care for any of Cole's fights. I was kind of hoping Goro was gonna fucking kill him in that one scene. I did mark out a little bit for his wife swinging that fucking axe into his gut. I thought that was great. The Scorpion and Sub-Zero fights. The Scorpion versus the 1-on-20. Even though it did look a little ridiculous in the beginning, I liked that. I liked, of course, I liked the final fight for what it was. Like I said earlier, I just didn't like the fact that it was 2-on-1 for most of the fight. Like, again, I understand why they did it, but at the same time, it's like, if you want to really show how good you are, Cole, you should be able to take down Sub-Zero by yourself and save your family. But, again, the connection to Scorpion, I understand why they did it. Scorpion and Sub-Zero will always be a classic rivalry, no matter what form of media it's in. And I'm glad they did Scorpion and Sub-Zero as like the badasses that they truly are in the series. Sub-Zero was definitely a highlight of the movie. Especially like in that one scene where he lifts his arms up like fucking like he's Kane, and he throws all the fucking ice down. Then it just starts raining fucking massive ice balls. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I thought the movie's good. I really hope we see a sequel. I hope they don't give us a rushed piece of shit for a sequel. I'm curious to see who we get in the sequel. I would have liked maybe a little bit of a different cast, but for the most part, and I'm not saying as the actors, I mean the characters, the character cast from the games. I would have liked to see a slightly different character cast, but for the most part, I'm happy with who we got. I'm glad while they did kind of showcase Cole as the obvious main character, they kind of made everybody else feel nearly on par with him in a way. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, and if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably say I'd give it like at least a 7. 7 out of 10.
I think that it is much better than the 1995 version. I have to admit that much. I really like when you build characters. The world building actually wasn't terrible in this movie. I mean, it wasn't terrible in the first movie for 1995, but it wasn't terrible in this movie. And I really like world building. I'm a big fan of that. The dialogue was terrible. It wasn't good at all. It wasn't any better than it was the 1995 version.
Except for Kano, like I said, his writing stole the fucking show.
His dialogue was pretty good, but again, I really like how they flesh these characters out a little bit more. They give them a little bit more depth, with the exception of Sonya. Her character is garbage in both these movies. Somebody is going to do a YouTube edit where they're just going to take everything Sonya related out, and it's not going to change the movie at all. Hopefully, hopefully, if there is a sequel, they will identify the things that the people love about this movie, and they will use that as a building block as a cornerstone for a sequel and moving forward. And if they're going to do a franchise, build a franchise off of that. I think that would be what I would do anyway. But
well, the action and the violence and the fatalities and everything, that's not going anywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, you can get away with it now where you probably couldn't get away with it as much in 1995. I mean, nowadays, come on. You're barely even PG-13 if you rip somebody's fucking balls out and shove them down their throat anymore. So whatever. But one of the things
the whole media thing with the game coming out, and that was a big fucking shock to everyone. And it's like, oh my god, these video games are so violent, and your kids are going to shoot up a fucking at school if they play this game. I'm like, no, but
yeah, there was a lot of redeeming qualities of this film, and I give it a solid like 7. It's not fantastic, but there's a lot of opportunity for a pretty entertaining franchise here. And let's face it, they're making franchises out of fucking everything these days. I mean, the Fast and Furious franchise died probably 4 or 5 years ago when Paul Walker did. So they just won't let that one go. If it makes enough money and keeps going, if they continue to build it, that's fantastic. I really like the creative energy that's going on behind here. And when we were talking about the video game movies a while back, that the developers haven't necessarily been involved in video game movies up to this point. I feel like the developers probably had more of a hand in this one and kind of crafting the story a little bit. It seemed to show through a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, this movie embraced exactly what it is. It's violent, it's stylistic, it is a bit of a good old-fashioned martial arts romp, which is fine by me because those movies were terribly successful for like 15 years in the 70s into the 80s. So yeah, I thought it was decent. I'll probably enjoy watching it again. It's eventually I'll watch it probably 1 or 2 more times when it's still on HBO Max, and it'll be back on HBO Max again at some point. I'll probably watch it again when it comes out. But yeah,
I'm definitely getting the Blu-ray when that fucker comes out.
Yeah, overall much better, I think. So yeah, a pretty good effort overall on the part of everybody who was making the movie. But that's my thoughts on everything. But we'll wrap it up now. And before we go, hey Rose, what do you got going on your channel?
Well, my Elgato 4K60 actually shit the bed on me on Wednesday. I don't know what happened to it. So it's a good thing I still had my old one, so I'm sharing that with my brother now because I actually did give it to him. But I got some Mortal Kombat stuff coming out every Monday. Play Mortal Kombat Deception on my channel. I'm doing Mortal Kombat 11 arcade ladders, which, Frank, maybe you'd be interested in the Sub-Zero one that I did last week, since you were hoping to see some Sub-Zero when it was me and Ray going at it on Christmas Eve last year. I did do an entire arcade ladder for Sub-Zero last week. I've actually gotten better with the character, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get a little better with the character. Give him his own video on my channel. Frank wanted to see it, so maybe he'll check that out.
I'll have to. I've been popping into some of the Rocket League games to watch you a little bit here and there. I'm terrible at Rocket League, so I like watching people who are good at it.
somebody like Sub-Zero is definitely one of the badasses in the series, and you wanted to see how brutal his character was. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. But as far as other stuff I've been training for the Rocket League tournament coming up tomorrow for Extra Life United. The tournament it's supposed to start at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. I don't know if my match will be streamed because apparently not all of them are going to be streamed like originally planned. I also have some MLB The Show stuff. I did the one stream that you popped in on and fucking jinxed me, you prick. So yeah, I got more MLB stuff, more Mortal Kombat stuff on Mondays. Of course, stuff on Gatekeeper Drew's Patreon, which I'll be working on another video for that very shortly. And yeah, I'm pretty much giving Mario a break because I played a lot of that last month. But yeah, but I'll be bringing Mario back probably next month. I'm just taking a break from that for now. I got a lot to do. I always have ideas for games on my channel, and when there's gaming news, I try to get Casey involved if there's enough news. If not, I'll do if there's only 2 or 3 things to talk about, and I could do it in 15 minutes on my own. I'll do that, like what the case was on this past Monday. Actually, I did a video on the Days Gone director is pretty much a fucking dickhead, and his comments to people were pretty fucking rude. Saying if if you want to see a sequel, then buy a fucking game at full price and shit like that. And he's saying that people should always buy games at full price, even if you don't know if you're going to like it, which is something I disagreed with. Sony backpedaling on shutting down the PlayStation Store for the PS3 and PS Vita after seeing a lot of the fan negativity and some of the issues actually doing that was causing to the games on those systems. And Nintendo is going after another piracy group. Surprise, surprise there. So that's what I've been doing over the past couple of weeks. That's what I'm going to be continue doing on my channel. I'm slowly climbing up to 500 subscribers, so I'll eventually get there.
The link to the Roses channel is in the description below for anybody who wants to go check him out. I think a lot of people in the community are probably already pretty aware of your channel, but if anybody's watching this on replay or later on, if you're into gaming, go check out the Rose, as well as my good friend Casey is Raw, currently spelled with a C, maybe eventually with a K. What have you got going on over on your channel right now, Casey?
Nothing right now. I've been just streaming with Kev every once in a while, but I hadn't been game shopping that much, so streaming stuff here and there. I've been doing reproduction games lately, playing some reproduction games. So.
You have been going back to a lot of the old 16-bit stuff lately. I've caught a few of those streams.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I picked up the Sega Genesis collection for the PS4, so I figured, hey, I was like, hey, that would give me some content to play some of these old school games.
I've only had that since the day it came out, but anyways.
Well, I had it on the Switch, but I mean, I can use that to stream some stuff. So, that's pretty much it.
You can find the link to Casey's channel in the description below as well. Also, you can find the PSN handle of my hetero life mate, Mr. Jeremy Woolner. Have you been doing any streaming or anything lately, Jeremy? I know you've been playing plenty. I don't know if I've seen you online much, though.
Well, that's because I keep myself hidden because I don't like people.
So you're not broadcasting on Twitch or YouTube or anything lately?
No, this is the first time I've been back to my house in like 2 weeks.
Oh, maybe that's why I haven't seen you online for a while. At least not streaming anything. But
I mean, look, when my fucking look, I told her it's not gonna be hard. You're a girl. You are a very attractive girl. Boom, in like a month, she's already getting money. I'm like, well, what I fucking tell you, dude?
Yep.
You're gonna be carrying my ass now. My ass has been doing this for a few years, off and on. I ain't got shit to show for it. I'm like, fuck you. Put on a stupid little fucking wig. Goddamn. Whatever. You know what? I'm not mad. I'll tell this person to death.
Of course you're not mad.
No, I'm just like, well, I kind of told you. I don't know why you're surprised. I'm happy for you. You make money off of it. Good on you. Maybe I need to wear a wig and cat ears too. I don't fucking know.
You just need to identify as a woman. That's all you need to do.
Right. Sure. I'll stuff my shirt and whatever. I'll do it.
Oh boy, Jeremy.
And last but not least is that wonderful voice you hear, the only decent sounding voice on this stream all night, and that is the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. Where can we find you on the YouTubes or the interwebs these days?
On your show and Drew's show, and that's about it.
Links to both those things are in the description below.
I'm a follower,
you're on my show.
I'm not a leader.
When is Crafty Coochie coming back?
Probably never.
Oh, that's not fun.
Life goes on. Well, some things aren't meant for greatness. Some things are just meant for a little blip,
But that's okay, because me and Cora may be doing some Downton Abbey stuff leading up to the release of the sequel to the movie that's coming up in December. So we may be doing some breakdowns of Downton Abbey stuff.
I have thought about starting a podcast about dachshunds and doing this cool thing where, since I'm new to having a dachshund, interviewing a new person every time who has a dachshund and just talking about their experience as being a dachshund owner. I don't know.
You can interview my mom. She's had dachshunds her whole fucking life.
Hey, she could be my first guest. Thank you for the suggestion.
I'm glad I just put her on the spot like that. Cool. I got you.
And as for me, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and just don't forget to watch all of Frank's shit. It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, segue. There you go.
Yeah, watch all the Frank shit. As for me, you guys have already found me once. You guys know where I'm at. You can also find me on the Derailed podcast on Sunday nights. And let's see, the next show we've got coming up is Monday. We'll be breaking down the final episode 6 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Boy, it was a doozy. Couple of heel turn, one heel turn, one face turn that really kind of surprised me. So we'll be breaking that one down. Monday about we'll call it about 8:00 is probably when we'll go live on Monday to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then let's see, next Thursday, NFL draft. Anybody in sports, Jeremy's probably gonna take that night off, but I'll be on here with the Deity and probably a couple other people breaking down round 1 of the NFL draft. Join you. Cora might be here too, from when it starts all the way through until pick 31 of round 1 is made. There's already some trades that might be brewing, some interesting things that are being talked about. Draft day is always a fun day for the NFL if you're a fan of that. Catch us doing that this time next week. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.